Good pop. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Two Penny Gamescast. What's poppin', players? We've got an evergreen episode for you, and that's because we briefly mentioned it on last week. But Connor, my good friend and co-host, say hello to the people, Connor.
Howdy.
Connor will be out of town this next week, so we didn't have time due to scheduling to record the normal new news that you usually get with the Two Penny Gamescast. Normally, if you don't know, we come to you every Monday, 8 a.m., YouTube, SoundCloud, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and we give you the new news in the video game industry that you need to know. We come to you each with two topics, our 2 pennies, if you will, and give you our 2 cents on them. However, we don't have time for that this week, so instead, we thought we would give you our 2 Penny Gamescast top 10 games of all time. We each compiled a list of our 10 favorite games of all time, and we thought we'd just nerd out and present them to you and talk to you about that. Now, if you heard Connor earlier, you might have heard that he sounds just a little different, and I might sound a little different, and that's because we've got ourselves a different setup this week. We have a third mic arm. And everybody, welcome. You know him from HYEP. Have you ever played over at twitch.tv/2pennygames? Say hello to the people, Phil.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm here.
Welcome to the main show, my friend.
It's me.
It's you.
It's real. I'm here.
The main show that is not in our usual filming location.
Not in our usual filming location, which is why everything is different. Connor's using a different mic. I'm using a different mic. Phil is using a different mic from what we use with After the Hype, our review series, over on youtube.com/2pennygames.
I'm using my stream mic.
Cast, where we review games that we play on HYEP. Have you ever played? This week, we will be reviewing Mass Effect 1. It'll be a full spoiler cast. You can catch it at the end of this episode, or a breakout episode Tuesday, 8 a.m., where it's just the spoiler cast. Connor, you will be joining us for that, correct?
I will be, yes.
Fantastic. Now, I thought, boys,
Yes.
let's go ahead and get into these lists. Now, just for clarity,
There's a whole 10 games on here.
There's a whole 10 games, 10 games for each of us, a potential 30 games if there is no crossover.
I'm guessing like 25 games. That's my my guess.
You think there's only going to be 25 out of all 3 of us?
Yeah, I think there's
Between the 3 of us, I should
it's
say.
like 5 cross. No, it's gonna be
No.
28.
I think 25 is a little bit low.
I do it too, but I think I'm shooting
27.
I'm right there with you, Phil. I'm shooting 27.
27.
27.
I'll keep my bid in at 28. See how things
28?
go. Yeah,
That's really low.
it is low.
That's really low. So, let's go ahead and get into it. For the rules of how we present these games, we will go around the table. Each of us will give whatever number we're on. So it'll be, I'll start with 10, then we'll go to Phil's 10.
No,
then
it should be Connor next. I want to be last.
You want to be last?
Yeah.
I was just going to go
Okay.
clockwise from the room, but that's fine. So it'll be my 10, Connor's 10, Phil's 10, mine 9, Connor's 9, etc., etc.
It's the main cast, and then...
Yeah, that makes sense.
yeah, that does make sense.
That makes sense. However, if there's any crossover in the list, say Game X is my number 10, but it's Phil's number 6. Phil, just to save everybody some time, will go ahead and talk about how much he loves Game X as well. Say it's in his list. He won't spoil the spot number, but when we do get to spot number 6, he'll be like, hey, Game X is my spot number 6. We already talked about it, so we can move on. With the exception of if that game lands in the top 3. So, if game Y is Phil's number 10, but not my number 2, when he talks about game Y, I will be silent, and we will move on. And then when we get to spot number 2, I'm going to nerd the fuck out about game Y. Everybody understand?
Why?
Okay.
No, I understand.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I get it.
So, let's go ahead and jump into it. Let me start the list off with my number 10. I'll say, number 10 and number 9, there's like 6 games competing for these 2 spots.
I had kind of a hard time putting my list together.
Yeah. I'll say my top 5, rock solid, really hard to make those move. My bottom 5, yeah, that's how numbers work. My bottom 5, just catch me on whatever day you want, and as we get lower on the list, it cuts even harder. So, like, I literally swapped out 9 and 10 last night. And for my number 10, a pretty recent game, I'll say. I got several recent games, but, you know, Not too many. A good mix, I would say. Resident Evil 2 remake.
The best Resident Evil game in your mind, huh?
The best, by far, Resident Evil game in my mind.
I've never played.
And we'll fix that one day over on Have You Ever Played? Twitch.tv/2pennygames. Probably in October. Do some horror game.
Yeah, for sure. That's kind of been like the talk.
Yeah. Resident Evil 2, I think, is a masterclass of level design. It's a masterclass of atmosphere building. It is a masterclass of survival horror.
I watched a few episodes of Super Mega play it.
Yeah, it's great game. I think the way they handled the building of the two campaigns, though not as in-depth as it is in the original, I think it is the best way to structure Resident Evil 2. This is the same dev team that, set the bar for survival horror, and then not only did they meet that bar again after so many games of, this was okay, with like Resident Evil 5 and Resident Evil 6, 6 just being a pile of dog shit, to come back with 7 and be like, oh, okay, this is a return to survival horror that we want, and then to, a few years later, just fucking knock it out of the goddamn park with Resident Evil 2 Remake. I don't think there's a better example of survival horror in the genre, and I think it's a game that, like, everybody should experience in some way or another.
It's like one of those things where it's like a faithful remake where it actually like changes the game.
It changes
enough.
It changes enough. It completely remakes the gameplay to feel, it puts you in that third-person camera perspective as opposed to the asymmetric camera angles.
Isometric, isn't it?
Isometric, thank you. But it keeps that vulnerability that you felt in the controls in the original Resident Evil games, but it enhances them in a way to where they don't feel clunky. They don't feel antiquated. They, everything that you do, you mean to do. But at the same time, it keeps that stiffness and that, I keep coming back to the word vulnerability in the way that you are vulnerable to the world around you.
You feel helpless.
You feel helpless. You're constantly on alert for the next zombie, the next licker. You've got those ears perked up for Mr. X because if he shows up, you gotta fucking book it.
He's
Connor,
gonna give it to you.
He's gonna give it to you,
Yeah.
Connor. I know you're a big fan in terms of the effectiveness of how scary he is of Mr. X.
Yes, I am not scared of video game enemies that I can kill. So ones like Mr. X, where it's just you have to slow him down or run away from him, are very terrifying, especially when you hear the thud of his boots above you and knowing that you're going to run into him.
And you're not quite sure if those footsteps are above you or if they're right outside the door.
There are many moments like that. So,
it's so good. I love Resident Evil 2, number 10 game.
You will have fun with that.
Okay.
You will indeed. Connor.
You're number 10?
You're number 10.
My number 10. So I ended up for my number 10 putting The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. So I originally on my old list had Fallout New Vegas, and it was above Skyrim. I've taken off Fallout New Vegas, and the main reason why is because Skyrim has a lot of nostalgia for me. We were talking before about this, about how nostalgia factored into what we put in our list. And in the case of Skyrim, at the time, it was the most hyped up game up until that point.
Oh, for sure. I saw
Absolutely.
videos on it everywhere as soon as it came out.
Exactly.
I mean, this game was so big that it spawned re-release after re-release on everything it possibly could.
Come out. And
good old Todd Howard.
Todd Howard was putting it out there.
Every time he showed up, you're like, oh, so now they're going to have Skyrim for my phone, right?
But
my blender.
That's a reality we're going to have to come across one
My
day,
smart
too.
fridge.
Yeah.
I can't wait for that. That'll be exciting.
It'll be interesting. But on the topic of Skyrim, very few games have made an open world with as many fun quests and nooks and crannies to explore like Skyrim. The main plot, with Elder Scrolls, usually they're not the best, so you kind of get through them, maybe to get some good gear. But the core of what makes the game great is everybody playing the game, like me and probably you guys. I don't know if you played it, Phil.
I've played it multiple times.
That's what I thought. I figured you would have, but
I don't know if you could find a gamer alive who hasn't.
Yeah,
played Skyrim, in one way or another.
Yeah, everybody's experiences are different, and a game that is able to do that while investing you in the world, the battles between the Stormcloaks and the Imperials, and the revamped combat system, when compared to other Elder Scrolls games like Morrowind and Oblivion, really made it a cut above any other game that Bethesda had done, and created a legacy of a game series that is still going on today. And that impact was really felt by me back when I played it for the first time in 2011. And there's not much I could say about it that hasn't already been said, because anybody that puts their hands on Skyrim understands just how much pure fun it is and how meticulously made this game was. From the cooking, the alchemy, the fighting, the magic system, all of it makes such a fun gameplay experience that just makes those quests even more better.
You mentioned Stormcloaks and Imperials. Which way do you usually lean?
Stormcloaks.
Usually go Stormcloaks.
The Imperials bow down to the Thalmor, and they're weak for it.
I'm an Imperial man.
Yes, of course
you really?
are.
I usually also go Stormcloak.
Elf slaves. That's all I have to say. Elf slaves.
I think my only issue that I sometimes have with Skyrim is that a lot of the dungeons are very similar.
You see,
but I think the vastness of Skyrim, the scope of Skyrim, I mean, this is one of the biggest Western RPGs, and on top of that, the quality of it is so high.
Yeah. Even
10 years later, I think it justifies some of the copy and pasting that it does for its dungeons and its caverns.
Yes. And even then, I have to say that I always found dungeons to be somewhat different in the way they were laid out. I get them being a little bit too samey.
Very similar.
Instances.
I think any of those ones where you get like one of the the Emerald Claw or like Ruby Claw, all of those are like almost exactly the same.
Yeah, exactly the same. Yeah. Those quest lines did kind of fall flat because they kept throwing them at you and they were always the same exact thing. But yeah, the overall experience of Skyrim can't be really replicated by many other video games out there. And I get that people are really excited for the 6th game, and I hope it's better than 5. But even if it's not, we'll always have the 5th game to fall back on, and whatever new iteration comes out after 6 fails or passes, it's
after
released.
Inevitably fails.
Speaking specifically for Bethesda Game Studios, I'm actually more excited to see what Starfield brings us than Elder Scrolls 6. Just because having a new world, having new rules to play with, and I hope that really spawns some creativity that we haven't seen from that team in a long time.
I find myself, whenever I'm like loading up a new version of Skyrim, I always try to play something really specific or something really different that I don't do, but I always end up just falling back on just using magic.
Oh, you're a magic user?
Yeah, big magic user. Like I'll use like the conjuration, like the bound sword and like the bound bow. I use a lot of that.
Great spells.
Yeah, that is cool. Spell. That's kind of the final thing I would say about it is that I said before, everybody's experience is different, and a lot of that is because of the way you can approach different encounters.
Yeah,
you can do
like
stealth,
so many different
arrows.
builds. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You can do your magic, your bound swords, or actually have a real sword. Whatever. No matter how you play the game, you're going to have fun with it.
The absolute freedom in the building of
Yes.
character skills in that game, absolutely worth being commended. Because it's just, what do you want to do? Okay, go spend 5-10 hours doing that, and then you're a master.
Yep.
Phil, number 10.
My number 10 is a very recent addition to my games library.
Oh?
Yes, it is. And that game would happen to be Metal Gear Solid 3.
Yes, baby!
Tavin perked up when you said that. I know Tavin was like, "Please say." Metal
I was
Gear
sitting
Solid
here.
3.
I was like, it's either Snake Eater or it's Hades, and we may see Hades later in his list as well. But man, I'm so happy.
I'll go ahead and say Hades isn't on my list. As much as I love Hades, I went from more towards nostalgia. With
That surprises me. Okay,
I do love Hades.
Hades, great game. Shout out to Hades.
Hades, favorite game of 2020.
And we might have to talk about it later. It depends.
Hey,
I don't know.
It's not on my list either. Since you just
Okay,
said
so
it.
we're not talking about Hades. But
Honorable mention if I had to put one out there.
Probably the best
that'll
honorable
be- that'll
mention
be an
between the three of us.
honorable
So there we
mention.
go. So Phil, tell people why Snake Eater is so great.
Okay, so Metal Gear 3 Snake Eater is a lot of fun. I'm not much of a stealth game guy. Tavin has introduced me to the Metal Gear series through HYEP.
Twitch.tv/2pennygames every Tuesday.
Yes, we play games that the other person is not very familiar with, and me not having ever played a Metal Gear game, I did 1. I was like, yeah, it's pretty good. And then I played 2, and I liked it a lot more. And then I played 3, which is Tavin's favorite game of all time, is Metal Gear Solid 3.
Spoiler. No.
Oh,
anybody who listens to this
totally,
podcast knows where it's at.
I was kind of lost in my own talk.
There you go. Keep going.
I don't. Just something about the ways that you can approach different fight, or not necessarily fights, because it's not always a fight. Different situations, I should say. Like you can go all out, like balls to the wall action, and storm a base with a shotgun, like I did, or you can be more methodical, like the game kind of wants you to, and use sleep darts, knock everybody out, not alert guards every 10 seconds like a idiot. Like I couldn't be me.
Couldn't be him.
Is it?
It is me.
It was him occasionally.
Okay.
I actually didn't get that many alerts.
By the time we got to 3, the mechanics start to speak specifically to our HYEP experience. The mechanics start becoming more current, and we played the HD collection, so we have the movable camera.
The jump in my quality of gameplay between 1 and 2 is insane.
Tremendous.
Yeah.
Oh, 1 was painful in some areas.
It was. Yeah, an outdated game, huh?
It's old. It's old. But yeah, so by the time we get to 3, the mechanics are a little more recent. And Phil has a little more experience with how Metal Gear
story
speaks.
is still dumb as shit, balls to the wall, weird. I mean, I liked it. I'm not gonna say it was dumb, oh, it's stupid, I fucking hate that. There was just a lot of dumb Kojima stuff.
Kojima, man.
Definitely was, but I know you'll probably get into it eventually, so I don't want to
go
steal
ahead.
your thunder.
No, go ahead.
Oh, the boss, as far as the story is concerned.
Oh, for sure.
The best part of that game.
The character
amazing.
of the boss.
The character
of the boss.
The boss.
Not like a boss battle.
No,
right.
no,
The
no.
boss.
There is a character named the boss in
Yes.
Snake Eater.
Who that character's story is very much. I constantly see it brought up on places like Twitter because of how well it's written and how well it's unveiled throughout the course of Metal Gear Solid 3 story.
Her character.
Yes.
And her motivations and
her
why she
motivations.
does what she does. Slight spoiler for if you haven't played Metal Gear, but I mean the boss isn't an enemy. She's basically there.
Bum. I don't know what he made the noise, so I copied the noise. Continue.
I don't know.
Sorry.
All right. So the boss is basically, she looks at Snake like a son, pretty much. She basically takes the fall for the American leaders and their stupidity and their fumbling.
We don't need to go into hyper detail about that.
Okay, I'm just saying the way that it is revealed about what her motivations are and how they unfold, and knowing what you know by the end of the story and going back and looking at everything she says, it takes on a whole new meaning.
Yes.
Everything that she had said that you take one way upon a first look is entirely different by the end.
It's a twist you never really see coming. I certainly didn't.
I definitely didn't. There was some random bullshit where I would say something totally dumb, and then Tavin would have this dumb grin on his face, and I would look at him.
It's
and he'd be
impossible
no way.
to play a game with him in the room that he's played before and not see his reactions. You got to catch him.
I'm
gotta
very
look-
He tries to
expressive.
hide 'em.
Yeah,
I'm
you
very
are.
expressive.
You can't contain
Guys.
your smiles.
I get excited when I
But
show my friends
Metal
new
Gear
things.
3, very fun game, very good. There's kind of, I'm not the biggest fan of the hunting mechanic and the stamina. Yeah,
A lot of people complain about the camouflage.
I think the camouflage is okay as long as, I just wish it had. I hate all the menuing you have to do.
Yeah, a lot of
in that
menus.
game.
For a quote-unquote action game, a lot of menus.
Yeah, I think that'd be probably my only big gripe with it is the amount of menuing you have to do with it.
But otherwise, great game for you.
Very, very good.
I'm very happy that a hype game has reached at least one of our lists.
Yes.
Number
10.
I'm sure we'll find more to compete
for
somewhere as we continue down that journey. Moving on, number 9.
What is your number 9, Tavin?
An entry in a series that is incredibly beloved to me. High amount of nostalgia, but I think its continued relevance in video games speaks for itself. Maybe not objectively the best entry in the series, but the one that, even on revisit, I just enjoy the most up until this point. And you know what? Honestly, this one is the one spot in the list that might get ousted the quickest upon recording of this episode. Ratchet and Clank Going Commando. Ratchet and Clank 2 for European
I was expecting that a little
listeners.
higher for you.
Well, it just speaks to some of the quality of the other games in the series.
You're assigned quality to them anyway.
Yeah. Ratchet and Clank Going Commando, more weapons, less platforming emphasis than the original game, which is disappointing for me. But
sorry,
you said we're coming for you.
I think there's some sirens going on
Yeah.
in the background.
Oh, okay.
I couldn't hear it, and I was like, "What is that?"
Yeah, I
thought it was
didn't hear
kids
it either.
screaming.
Oh, it was a kid screaming. I thought it was sirens.
I
and
couldn't
then
tell.
I saw you reacting, and I was like, Connor, they're coming for you.
I was like, "What?"
So Going Commando, but the implementation of being able to strafe and shoot at the same time, I think the gunplay is at its best, at least in the original trilogy. Its story is still fun and tongue-in-cheek and campy.
It's so funny.
But it doesn't reach into full-blown cartoon comedy like some of the later games do after Going Commando.
You know how when you're a kid and like you're watching TV and like a reference will just go right over your head.
Yeah.
And then when you go back as an adult,
Those early Ratchet games are filled with that, and it's something that they lose as they go on, starting with Up Your Arsenal, which is everybody's favorite. Don't really know why.
Connor, have you ever played Ratchet and Clank?
No, I never have. I played a little bit of the remake at Tavin's place once. Just hopped around.
Touched
Felt
it.
fun.
It's fun. It's great.
It's a fun game.
And I am incredibly excited for Rift Apart.
I was gonna say, do you plan on getting Rift Apart?
Probably not at the moment. I'm definitely open to playing it.
Right.
But I have. Well, I
time
guess
of
I won't be able
recording,
to
it's
play
a
the
little
new
over a week
remake
out.
for PS5 because I probably won't have a PS5 at this rate.
Yeah.
But I would have Guilty Gear Strive, and I'm also trying to still get through Mass Effect, so I'd probably hold it off.
Anyways.
Other games I've
So you
tried.
don't have a PS5 yet?
No,
he does not. He's
Still
working
waiting.
on it. He's working on it.
Yep.
Yeah, but Going Commando, I think, is a great game on its own.
Fantastic.
And the levels of elevation that it has over the first game is fantastic, even though I also love the first game.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, like, other than the final boss, I think that game is immaculate.
Yeah, final boss kind of
Meh, especially after the final boss of the first game, which is, I think, fantastic.
It's very good.
But yeah, the Going Commando, best weapons, and then like the way you level those weapons up through use, it makes you hop around, and it doesn't force you, but it incentivizes you to use a wide plethora of weapons as opposed to just picking your favorite, because like, and then, the New Game Plus mode, I think, is one of the best versions of New Game Plus ever done in video games. I don't understand how games are still fucking up New Game Plus modes in some ways.
I mean, that New Game Plus continues on in the series too.
Yeah, exactly. And then with the bolt multiplier, and then the like all the different like crazy special
Box
weapons you
breaker.
start getting, box breaker, and there are 4 different versions of every weapon, and you only get it through using them and building up that arsenal.
It's so good.
So fantastic. Great example of what Ratchet and Clank can do. And, though it probably mechanically has reached higher highs, I don't know if there's an overall package that means more to me than Going Commando.
In the Ratchet and Clank series.
In Ratchet. Connor.
Yes.
Number 9.
Well, kind of going after Skyrim, which I consider one of the best exploration games I will now mention the best exploration game, which is
fucking
Legend of
Christ.
Zelda: Breath of the Wild. And now,
Hell yes, Connor.
So I'm going to be quiet for the next 5 minutes.
Thank you.
now I had a decision to make. It was either Breath of the Wild. I knew I needed to put a Legend of Zelda game on here for myself, but it was Breath of the Wild.
There
or
may or
Twilight
may not
Princess.
be another Legend of Zelda game in one of our lists.
Oh, I was about to say, are we hitting our first crossover?
Ah, maybe.
Probably not.
Yeah, but
He says no.
but Twilight Princess, the reason why I didn't choose this over Breath of the Wild is because it's been so long since I played it. So even though the memory of that game is a very positive one, I can't mention how much better it is compared to Breath of the Wild. Versus Breath of the Wild, I still haven't beaten the game. But the reason why I feel like I'm justified in putting it on my list is because I've spent hours upon hours upon hours of going throughout the entire world. I have not finished it because I've just spent numerous hours playing the game. I've put
To be fair, I put 40 hours in that game just to discover I didn't like it. Like, it's a big game.
You see, the reason why I think it's great is because, first of all, I'm a big fan of going around an environment and just exploring it. And Breath of the Wild captured that sense of exploration better than anything else I played. Because
Did you play any of the DLC?
No, because I haven't even beaten the main game yet.
Oh, okay.
So I'll do that afterwards. But
You're never going to beat that game.
I was actually playing it just yesterday. I was picking it back up.
You have 2 hours left of Ghost of Tsushima. Go finish fucking Ghost of Tsushima.
Okay, but the wide open fields, the wind blowing through the sky, I'm seeing it, blowing the grass.
Just the environment in general is so
the
good.
environment is just absolutely amazing. When I think of the most calming things in the natural world, that's the thing I always picture in my head in reality.
Literally just fucking walking down a path and then that music.
Nope.
It's so good.
That's the reason why I put it on my list, is because the feeling I get during those moments of zen, are unmatched in any other video game that I have played my entire life.
Damn.
I never have stopped to admire the world.
Stop
that
and
was
smell
being
the
created.
roses.
Sorry, what?
I said just stop and smell the roses, you know?
I always smell the roses. And going through those old ruins. And that's not to discount the gameplay, which I very much enjoy. Because when I first heard about the game, and there not being just the Master Sword that you swing around and a bunch of different tools that you use, once I realized that there's a bunch of weapons that you get access to through over the game and they break, I was kind of iffy on that. But the management of those weapon systems is very fun to me, because I'm constantly like, okay, what kind of weapon is good for this encounter? Do I want the big long sword or the big broadsword that's going to be,
the two-handed, yeah.
Two-hander, yeah, that's going to take out a bunch of enemies in one swing, or am I going to go for the lighter sword to take out that giant one-eyed ogre thing that I can't remember the name of?
No. Hinox,
that's what it is, yeah. So using that to strategize how I'm going to approach a combat encounter was always fun to me, especially when you put into when you factor in those abilities that you have. So Cairo, grenades, a time stop,
you're adjusting people's backs.
What?
You said Cairo. It's cryo. Cairo is like adjusting someone's back.
Cryo.
Yeah.
I've never been able to do it, but you could use those tools to do some pretty insane things.
Oh, you haven't done like a tree launch where you like stasis the tree and like you chop it down to where it's like almost gonna fall, and then whenever you angle it up and then you hold onto the tree. And so that when the stasis goes away, you get launched while holding the tree.
I've never done that. I've seen it, but I've never actually done it myself.
Cool.
But the other things I think of is taking out guardians, which are very tough enemies. People do some crazy stuff to take those things out, using cryo to lift them up and then shoot their weak spot underneath their belly, and then blowing them up to take off some of their legs and stuff. It's just that combat system is a lot more fun than I thought it would have been.
Did you do Eventide?
Eventide?
Eventide, yeah. It's like an island where you lose all your items, and there's like 3 shrines right there.
Yes, I did do that one.
Quick sidebar. Connor, do you want me to take your voice out of your headphones so you can turn us up?
You could just take me out in general, if you would like.
Take all the audio out?
Yeah, because just so it's easier for me to hear things sometimes.
Sure thing.
Because sometimes when I'm talking and someone asks me a question, I can't really hear it. There we go.
Pop one off here.
Yeah, that's better. There we go. But yeah, The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, beautiful game that I get lost in it for hours whenever I pick it up, which is why I need to dedicate time to it. It's not a game, even though it's on the Switch, I can't just do the thing I do with other Switch games like Hades, play it for a little bit, and then go out and do something else. I have to invest myself because the world itself envelops me like nothing else ever does. And I absolutely love Breath of the Wild for that.
It's a great game.
Mm-hmm.
Very good. All right, we're going to go to my number 9 now.
Yeah, jump right into it, buddy.
So, sticking with Legend of Zelda.
Oh.
My number 9 is Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time.
Oh, okay. I was guessing either that or Wind Waker. I don't know your experience
Wind
with those
Waker's a
games.
good one. Ocarina of Time for me, I didn't play it on the original N64. I played it on 3DS.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they made it Ocarina of Time 3D.
And Majora's Mask.
And Majora's Mask.
Oh, in my head, for some reason, Ocarina was a GameCube game.
No.
Oh,
No.
it came out on, like, precipice of GameCube, didn't it?
Well, it was 64. I don't know.
Yeah, 64 into GameCube.
I don't know.
Whatever.
I don't
Go nerd
know
out.
when it got released. But me playing it for the first time, even on 3DS, it's just a great adventure. Like, it's definitely, obviously, it's like the old kind of Zelda, kind of hand-holdy, not super open. It's very linear. Like, that's how the Zelda games are kind of, I think that's kind of what draws them back overall.
Yeah, Breath of the Wild was the first one that really went out there
Yes.
and let you explore.
Lets you just do whatever the fuck you want.
Yeah.
But Ocarina just holds a special place for me as far as, like, it's just one of those classic games. Fucking just going through, solving all the puzzles and all the different temples. I almost said shrines because I was thinking of Breath of the Wild. Fucking what really sticks out to me is the final boss battle with Ganondorf. Just you use like fucking light arrows, and it's just a great time. I don't have as much to say about it as I will for like games later in my list.
Mm-hmm.
But it just holds a special place to me as far as like Zelda goes. And I thought about putting Breath of the Wild on it, but I was like, it's between that. It was between that and Ocarina.
Okay.
And Ocarina being like the first, I think was it the first Zelda game I played? I don't remember. I don't remember.
Probably
If it was,
timing wise.
maybe. I think it was either that one or
We're
it
all
was
23 for context.
What's that? Oh yeah.
I said
yeah.
we're all 23 for context.
Yeah.
So
24.
Connor is 24.
fucking old ass man.
Yeah, I think Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time is just a classic game. I feel like almost everybody and their mother's played that game. I know Tavin has not.
I've not. Very excited to get to it with
Eventually,
hype
yeah. We will.
one day.
But yeah, that's all I have to say about Ocarina
Great
of
game.
Time.
Fantastic.
Very good.
Everyone loves it. I've yet to play it.
You haven't played it either?
I have not played it.
It's a good game.
We got some blind spots in our history here, Connor.
We do.
We're gonna have to work on that
Will we?
one day.
I guess so.
Yeah.
we still want to someday get you on hype for us to play like a Soulsborne game.
Yeah.
Just to co-pilot with us here.
Yeah, I'll definitely do that.
And help us understand. Number 8. A series that means a lot to me, even though I don't think it is the most impactful series I've ever played. But just countless nights of just the joyous thrill ride that is Uncharted filled my high school days, and to me it is just a toss up, a coin toss on whatever day you catch me, whether it's Uncharted 2 or Uncharted 4. And today is just, it's an Uncharted 4 day today, man. The way that they build on the characters established in those first 3 games, and those first 3 are really pulp actiony, like characters mostly, like in terms of a character arc, mostly end up in the same place that they started in. They don't go through too many big changes. 3 attempts this to mixed results, in my opinion. But to me, there is no better video game roller coaster ride than the events and the set pieces and the pacing of Uncharted 2. And it's something I wish 4 had, but 4 does have incredible highs as well when it comes to those moments. But the way they evolve the character of Nathan Drake in 4, the way they nearly, they ground him, but not in like a Last of Us way, which they so clearly could have done, and I was terrified of leading up into release to see how The Last of Us influenced Uncharted, especially with Neil Druckmann taking over as director of Uncharted 4. But the way they expertly know when to keep it a fun action game and when to have a serious character beat, and how those moments blend together and pace together, and even though in many ways it is the slowest Uncharted game, the way it builds, it is the most exhilarating Uncharted game, especially when you get into those later chapters.
You'll notice I'm being very quiet. I've only played the first game.
Phil has only played the first game up to this point. We're getting there. You'll understand one day. But yeah, Uncharted 4, I think, is one of the best testaments for video game acting out there. And I don't think there's a studio on earth that pushes their characters the way Naughty Dog does.
They do face capture on?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. 4 is the first game where they did facial capture for. The rest of it's all motion capture with face animated, inspired by the performances. Yada yada yada. Anyways, but yeah, Uncharted 4, incredible thrill ride. It's the best shooting in the series, even though it's still not the best reason to go to those games. But it's got the best, quote-unquote, parkour of the franchise. It's got the best puzzles in the franchise. And it's got the most dynamic movement, which adds so much to the set pieces of Uncharted 4, even though I wish there was grander and more insane set pieces, like you see in the previous 2 games. But incredible story, incredible characters, incredible acting. And still just a super fun thrill ride video game, Uncharted 4. Connor,
very very solid game. I haven't played that series in a while. Actually, I played it when it came out and then just never touched it again. I remember the combat and the parkour being very exceptional in that game. Mm-hmm. Very fun.
Connor, number 8.
So number 8 was very very difficult for me because I actually changed it not too long ago from Devil May Cry 5, which was, I'm surprised I didn't put on here, but I changed it.
DMC 5 is not on your list?
No.
What the fuck?
It's like 11. But the game I had, gameplay was the big reason why I wanted it on my list, and I love the characters of Devil May Cry. But what ended up winning out for the number 8 spot is something that still has good gameplay, but offers, I would argue it offers more, and that's Nier Automata. So, Nier Automata... the gameplay, first of all, I have to say, is
pretty quiet. I've never played.
No, Tavin only played it for a little bit. I guess he didn't play it.
Never.
Then,
yeah.
Couldn't get into it, but I wish I could. Continue.
Sorry about that.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
But no, I got sidetracked. Nier Automata, though, the gameplay is very fun. It's Platinum Games, so they very much excel at doing fast-paced, flamboyant combat. Nier is no exception.
Flamboyant.
Despite the fact that it definitely is better gameplay than other Nier games have been in the past. The reason why I put it on my top 10 list, though, is because the story and the characters are absolutely amazing. So the structure of the story is a lot more different than others, where it's point A to point B. This is where the story begins, and here's where it ends. This one has different routes. Each route goes to route A through D for the main story. Tons of other routes. Like one of them, I think route F, you eat a bad fish and you die, and you don't come back or something like that. Weird, funky endings, but the main
this is something that only works in video games.
Only works in video games.
This type of narrative structure only works in this.
Only works in video games, and Nier is pretty unique as far as it's structured because each route seemingly has a conclusive end in and of itself, but it just keeps going and going and building itself on top of each other to further explore the game's themes, which honestly the game it kind of makes me have a brain fart whenever I talk about it right off the tip of my tongue because it has so much going on with the characters and the world of Automata, especially with being based, kind of being based
Like
off
steampunk
past
kinda
games. No, not steampunk.
No?
It's that's also
post-apocalyptic.
post-apocalyptic,
okay.
very futuristic,
Yeah.
very very abnormal.
Would it
the
be
way
more
that
like
the
kinda
world
like a
is.
cyberpunk
Super.
deal?
No,
Not even cyberpunk. No, it's
super Japanese.
It's
okay.
very.
I was gonna
vague.
say one good thing about that game I do know about is anime titties.
I raise you better. Anime ass.
Oh,
okay.
That is the focus with 2B. Very, very yeah.
To be or not to be?
2B or not to be. And
Phil? You might have stumbled across one of the themes of the game there.
oh,
That's so lame.
you
You have no idea.
you have no idea.
You have no idea.
actually have no idea. I'll talk to you about it later.
Okay.
But I also like 9S. Beside the point. The story, like I said, develops on itself, but better than that, it's a very, very emotional one on what it means to be human and free will. The topic of free will.
To be human.
What is it to be human?
To be.
9S. Man, it's hard to talk about.
It
This game.
sounds corny when you pitch it that way,
Okay.
but it makes sense. My understanding of the game, I haven't
Yes.
played more than the opening hours. My understanding of the game and the conversation that's happened online, it really seems like an exceptional landmark moment in video game narratives, and it's incredibly experimental, and just really bold in its execution.
Yes.
And it's just unfortunate that some people hear how that game is structured and think, oh, I don't want to play a game 9 times. It's not that, even though it kind of is, but it's not that.
It's not that. It's definitely the same length as pretty much any other game you're going to play.
Yeah.
It's just it's structured in a way that seems like there's multiple different endings to it.
Gotcha.
Which there is, because like I said, the story will go forward and say, okay, it's the end, but not really. Go forward. It's the end now, not really, and until it actually does end. And
There are narrative resets where it seems like you're starting over, but
you're not.
you just
You
have
are
to,
definitely not.
push through and
Man,
keep going.
I need to
Like
play that
a
game. Again.
Groundhog Day kind of deal? Or?
No. I'd recommend it to you. It's
It's
amazing.
just hard. It's hard to explain outside of that. So
Yeah.
I'll have to check it out, I guess.
Yeah, I actually need to replay it soon.
I need to give it a better shot.
You can just mainline the story missions.
I know.
It doesn't take that. It's not that long of a game.
I need
all in
another.
all.
I need another lockdown to where I can just fucking blaze through it to do it how I did KOTOR.
Yeah, I guess that's all I'll say about the game for now. I
There we
recommend
go.
anybody
You
that
said it
hasn't
has
played
multiple
check it out.
endings?
It has. Yes.
It does,
Yes,
but it doesn't.
It
Oh, okay.
does, but it well, it does, but it doesn't. You're right. Kind of.
All right.
There is a conclusive ending,
Oh, okay.
like a conclusive story ending.
The first game I ever played that had like multiple endings like that. This isn't me like comparing it as far as quality goes. Fucking Shadow the Hedgehog for GameCube and PlayStation 2 it has multiple endings.
Oh my god!
Based on like what decisions you make in each level.
Did you shoot somebody with the SMG? Or did
And
you
then
not?
So epic! I skate through the town and I shoot human beings with guns.
Man, Shadow's so cool.
And speaking of my number 7 game, Shadow the Hedgehog. No, I'm playing.
no, please don't.
Phil,
It's my turn anyway, Tavin.
Phil, number 8.
My number 8 is it's gonna be the first crossover between all of us. Unless it's not on your list.
I think I know what it is.
It's gonna be Super Smash Brothers Ultimate.
Oh, it's not what I thought it was.
No, I thought it was either.
Yeah, Super Smash Brothers Ultimate is gonna be my number 8 game. It's Smash.
It's Smash,
I
baby.
have to mention, I don't have it on my list.
Oh, do you not? Okay.
Yeah, I refrain from a lot of multiplayer-centric games because there's so many great stories in other games on my top 10 list and characters, but that's the best Smash Brothers. It just is.
Without a doubt.
Melee fans can kill themselves.
Okay.
They can do that. I know. Melee has a lot more mechanics than Ultimate
Look,
does.
man, I'm not gonna say that about Melee. I think it's overrated for sure. But I kind of get why they defend.
Guys, your
such a
game is over a decade old. It can't be the best in the series anymore.
But it's got mechanics to have
Um,
broken mechanics.
Can we retire the GameCube controller? Can we do that?
Nah.
Is that a thing we can do?
There's no
That
way.
controller is not that great.
it's pretty good.
It's pretty good. Tavin.
It's got
Sorry,
weird
Tavin, you're in
button
the minority,
placements.
I
man.
think
The analog sticks are too loose.
It's weird button placements. I agree with you there.
they do wear out very quickly.
But I
Yeah.
like the button placements. placements.
But it's great.
And then
I do like the controller overall.
The triggers or the bumpers, whatever you want to call them, they feel like bumpers, but they function like triggers. I don't like them.
They're really good.
Anyways, I'll say Smash Ultimate also on my list.
Yeah, Smash Ultimate is. I mean, it's fucking Smash, dude. Where can you go wrong?
Just great party game, plug away, brawler.
I will say, you mentioned, Connor, that you didn't have like any multiplayer centric games. I thought about putting. I mean, obviously, on my I had like a list of games that I like, and I culled a bunch of stuff from the list and then arranged them in an order. I did have Overwatch and Valorant on like my master list of games that I love.
They didn't make the cut.
They did not make the cut. They had to get taken off the cutting room floor because as much as I play Valorant and Overwatch now, I don't think that quality wise, like as far as like just like me sitting down and playing a game, I just don't think they match up.
Mm-hmm.
There's also something to be said about an experience you have cutting deep and hitting you, you know, in the right feels and in the right moments. There are so many moments I can think back of, you know, speaking about Smash Brothers in general, where just the hype and the excitement of the room and the tension that built.
It's just it's a all around feel good, fun party game, action packed thrill ride.
And I think it perfectly balances that level of, hey man, we're just here to have fun, we're not taking things too seriously.
Fuck you, I will kill you.
Yeah, we are getting into that competitive edge. We are when it, you know, if you're playing with groups of 4 or more, you know, it starts fun in the beginning, but when it comes down to that final 1v1, it's game time and it's serious, and it's now we're getting into the strategies and tactics and how does that player play, and we're getting into these mind games of how can I fake them out in order to, you know, knock them off the stage, and how can I get that critical hit in to really, really give it to this guy, you know? I think Smash Ultimate is just the perfect example of what Smash Brothers can be, which is it's a video game museum where we're taking all of these great iconic characters, these huge juggernauts of the industry, for the most part.
Put Spyro in Smash.
and we're just throwing them all together in this mosh pit in a way that...
Put Sora in there, too.
Nothing had... I'm fine with Sora. Nothing like Smash Brothers was ever seen before, and then as it's continued to grow, you know, we'll never see anything like this ever again. Solid Snake is not supposed to be in the same game as fucking Pikachu or Yoshi. You know, but he's there, and it's true to the character of Snake. He's snapping necks, he's shooting guns, he's blowing motherfuckers up, but in the same sense, Peach is smacking you in the face with a toad.
With a frying pan.
Yeah, you know, and it all makes sense, and it shouldn't, but it does. And it shouldn't work, but it does. We've seen many clones come and go. They don't have the staying power.
All-Stars.
Exact prime
Nicktoons Battle Royale.
Prime example to where it's just to the point of we don't want anything else but Smash. Put those characters in Smash. Love it. Great pick, Phil. Any other final words, Phil?
No, man, just fucking Smash Brothers.
Well, then I'm gonna move right along to my number 7 pick, one that I think might also be a crossover pick here. For those keeping score at home, we are now down to 29 games.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Number 7. Fire Emblem 3 Houses.
Shit.
There it is.
Unfortunately, not on my list.
Not on yours?
I definitely lost the average, though, the amount of games that would have.
Oh, we're down to 28 now?
Yeah.
Yeah, baby. Yep. So Fire Emblem 3 Houses is my only Fire Emblem game that I've ever played.
Same.
But from what I hear from fans, my man Connor here has played a few Fire Emblems in his day, and just, you know, the scuttlebutt I hear on the internet, this seems to be the best version of Fire Emblem.
It's kind of become almost comprehensive, I think, at this point.
Fantastic.
Very cool
game. Incredible tactics RPG. On top of that, like, the level of character building and building of relationships. People are really critical of Garrick Mach, is that the name of the school?
Garrick Mach, yeah.
Yeah. People are critical of that section of the game. I love it. I adore it. I think it gives all of those characters time to breathe.
I don't like the running around of it. I do like the character interaction.
See, in the
Oh, you played it.
He's played the fuck out of it, dude.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Nah,
man.
he's beaten all 3 routes.
Oh.
He's done more than you, bitch. Oh wait, no, you have beaten 3 routes. Never mind, I rescind my
Well,
bitch.
you only recently finished.
Yeah.
But I finished it.
Golden Deer.
Phil,
Yeah,
Phil,
yeah, it took a
Phil,
while.
Phil was hot on it when we were.
Dude, it was
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I got him into it within like the first month of launch. Anyways, 3
Great
houses.
fucking game.
Like I get the running around the school. It kills the pace. It
Yeah,
really
for sure.
does. It
Yeah, it
absolutely
does.
does. But my
best criticism of the game, I would have to say.
most valid critique of the game,
Yeah.
and that's fair. But the little I've played of Awakening and how they build character relationships in Awakening, I so much prefer having this in the game. Where like in Awakening, how you position your troops and how they work together is how you build their relationships the best, and getting to that new rank, getting to that B, A, S rank tier with your favorite characters. But being able to take the time, slow down, talk to them how they feel in the moment of what is happening politically in the world around them, what is happening, moment to moment in the world around. How do they feel about this weird little festival that's come into town?
Yeah.
Oh, this guy likes it. This guy thinks it's a waste of time. Oh, that's neat. But just being able to go do those things and then do the small little hey, I lost this item. Can you go find it for me? Even though it gets a little ridiculous and people are dropping their most beloved items left and right, and you're like, guys, do you have pockets?
How did you find my mother's ashes?
Exactly. It's almost that severe. It gets ridiculous in that way, but allowing that time to really focus in and being able to build on your favorites, and still gives you time to build on characters maybe you don't love as much, and to have those characters build with each other. Mm-hmm. The amount of dialogue in this game alone is insane. Yeah. Not only is the cast so big, talking 20, 30 characters, easy.
I think there's at least
there's 8.
I think there's 8 in each house.
Each house, something like that, plus the teachers. So you're looking at a ton of characters, and they all have dialogue with each other.
I think
some more than others, but
it's less than 30.
No, I think it's more than 30.
I think it's 28 or 29,
something like that. And then on top of that, the tactics RPG part of it is thrilling. How you're positioning your units who are riding Pegasus versus the enemy unit archers. How you're positioning.
I forgot about DLC. So over 30. Fuck.
Oh yeah. I think it's well over 30. Just main game.
I think 33, 34.
There's 24 students. Just students.
Okay, well then there's easily 6 teachers. Man, I cannot speak enough about 3 houses, and then the different routes. Holy fuck. And how each route it reveals a little more about the main story arc that's going on, even though your character's influence and agency in the plot changes the story. So each route is different and does have a different narrative conclusion, but you're only learning about those who slither in the dark if you play the Golden Deer route. Mm-hmm. You only learn about the inner politics of those characters if you play the Black Eagles route. You only learn the more general world politics of kingdoms and kings and how that all functions if you play, the Blue Lions, et cetera, and how all of those little tidbits of information that you collect amongst each 80-hour story is fucking incredible.
I think, are we all in agreement that Golden Deer is the best route, though?
I've kind of come around on it, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, solely because of those who slither in the dark plotline being completed.
It's the most comprehensive.
It is the most comprehensive
of the 4 storylines, of which I've only played 3. And granted, the 4th one, is mostly just a copy of, the other ones.
Yeah.
But I adore Fire Emblem 3 Houses. Cannot wait for another Fire Emblem game because of it. It made me an instant fan.
I will say, I think that in playing that game, the replay value in that game that's there is so good because it makes you want to play each of the routes, like you said.
In a genre where replayability you would not think is something there. Would be that would be there, but it is.
I think the first playthrough of that game is pretty much going to be your least favorite. Because
I picked Golden Deer first. So
no, I'm saying, but your first playthrough of the game, because then in New Game Plus, you can basically steal everybody's
overpowered
students.
Fucker. Yeah.
You can steal everybody's students from them, and just you have so much choice after that first playthrough is done.
I would say the Black Eagles was the worst route. I think the structure of how I played it, I was so
And to
lucky
say
it
worse,
just
it's
worked
not
out.
bad.
It's not bad.
It's not bad.
By
Well,
no means is it bad.
It's underdeveloped.
Yeah.
Is the problem.
Less developed.
Could have been
Yeah.
left in the oven a little bit longer, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, because it's the shortest
Eagles,
route
yeah.
and so forth. So they rush a couple of plot points near the end. Anyways,
I do like after the time skip with Black Eagles.
all great stuff.
That is good.
I think that's
Connor, you said this was on your list.
Yep.
Why do you love Fire Emblem Three Houses, Connor?
I just like it.
Okay.
We'll get to that later.
Fantastic. Well, you were supposed to spoil yourself, Connor.
Yes.
Anyways.
I spoiled myself.
Yeah, you did. Look at you. Connor,
Yes.
number 7.
Number 7 is I think another game we'll have a little bit of crossover with. Surprised it's as low as it is, but that is God of War 4, the newest God of War.
There is no crossover.
There is no crossover.
No.
I've never played it.
Really? You've never played it? No. Well, then I guess I get to...
We're going to fix that, by the way.
Yes.
I am going to play
Yes.
it eventually on Hype.
Very similar to another game that I very much like.
I say I own the game, but we just haven't played it yet.
Yeah, okay. Well, you'll be able to enjoy that hopefully pretty soon. But God of War 4, get it out of the way. The best part of the game is the relationship between Kratos and Atreus, and Kratos overcoming his past as the ghost of Sparta.
Mm-hmm.
At least that's how I perceive it, because this is the story of a guy who did bad things,
Awful
bad
things.
things, justified in some senses, but also unjustified in
Many senses not justifiable at all.
Yes,
He's kind of an asshole.
Yeah, and it turns him from like, man, isn't Kratos such a
tragic,
like conflicting character?
Yeah, to you're just a piece of shit.
Yeah. It really there was a pretty big character change because Kratos wasn't as a character all that well written.
You're talking
in the
about from
first
1
three.
to 3, right?
Yeah,
Yes,
1 to 3 and the spin-off games, he's just angry.
Yes,
Yeah.
but it's pretty amazing how even it can take a very shallow character and turn him into a very complex and somber one in this one, who is completely different from how he was in the past games.
I think he raises his voice a handful of times
he does.
in
Most of
this
it's
game.
very toned down. It's very
and,
low.
Yeah, and it's so good.
Boy.
Yes, and the adventure that him and his son go on, and you kind of uncovering the circumstances surrounding your son's birth and why Kratos is here and whatnot, and the anticipation that builds up for what is going to happen in the future is done very, very well. And I instantly wanted to play the next game in the franchise right after I beat 4. Fortunately, I can't. Hopefully, I'll be able to play that soon.
God of War Ragnarok this year.
I was going to say I thought for some reason I was thinking it was Valhalla.
No.
God.
Ragnarok. Okay.
The combat also is so fun.
See, and that's the best part of the game to me.
That is the best part of the game?
Yeah. How they somehow still have that
Hack and slash.
arcadey hack and slash character combat game, but they've grounded, quote unquote, grounded our characters. Kratos can no longer jump.
He's not doing crazy things a lot of the time. It's just enemies coming at you and you doing really brutal executions on them, which even though it seems like the violence is less glorified in this one compared to 1 and 3, where I feel like they really tried to make it gory for gory's sake.
Right.
This one, it handles it in a way that's shocking, and you're like, holy shit.
So much
when you see a
more
new execution.
vitriol.
Yes.
Because the camera comes in and you get real close and you're right there. And, even though we've grounded our settings, quote unquote, as we talk about Norse and Greek gods, you're still like juggling enemies like you do in the other games. Like you're still building up combos and you're still outputting as much damage as you can in as stylish ways. It's one of the few character action games that every input Kratos executes on, I meant to do. And it just feels that good to play on top of the great story, on top of those great characters, on top of that fantastic acting. Great game, and it really put Santa Monica on that S tier level. Santa Monica always beloved through God of War. Their sense of scale and set piece, clearly goes on to inspire goes on to inspire the Naughty Dogs of the world. And then to see them be inspired by those who they inspired and pull it off with such finesse on their first real attempt. I'm with you, Connor. I cannot wait for the next one.
Well, that's all I got to say about that.
That's all I got to say about that.
Phil.
Yep.
Number 7, my friend.
So, not quite a crossover. Only a crossover in terms of series. My number 7 is Ratchet and Clank Up Your Arsenal.
My bad.
You're fine. You just yanked my
We're
microphone away
wired
from me.
together, for those who don't
Yes,
know.
we're entangled.
Not like me, who has free range of movement.
Look at you. Look good for you. Ratchet and Clank Up Your Arsenal is, I don't know. I think it's the, no, because I played the first one first. So the way I played the Ratchet games, I played 1, 3, 2, because I guess my mom just didn't know, like, obviously she wouldn't know the series, like, numbers. So
Well, them not being numbered in America hurts that.
So yeah, we got, I think it was actually the same birthday that I got both games, that I got Ratchet 1 and Ratchet 3.
Mm-hmm.
So, I knew from, like, my own research as a kid, I was very young, but I still somehow did my research. I don't remember the specifics of that.
Well, this one has a subtitle and the other one doesn't.
True, I guess. Oh, no, I know why I knew, because my cousin had the original game and I played it back then, so I recognized it. So yeah, jumping from 1 to 3, it was just such a drastic, like, change, because, like, there was no, like, weapon upgrades in the first game.
Right.
And I just think that the level of scale in terms of the weapon variety and the craziness that the weapons do in 3.
Well, I think Ratchet as a series, it starts as mostly a 3D platformer with cool guns, and then from 2 on, it becomes crazy action,
weapons.
big guns, weapon. It's a third-person shooter with 3D platformer elements.
Yes. So I had forgotten that one of my favorite weapons from the third game is it was like a glaive throwing, like, Ninja Star, like, shooting thing that, like, when you shot one Ninja Star, it would split up into, like, 3.
Yeah.
Then, like,
well, this
5.
it might be a returning weapon from Going Commando, because
Was it?
Yeah, they have that weapon in 2.
Okay, I wasn't sure if it was in 2 because it's been a long time since I've played 2.
It's in 2.
But just that was, like, one of the big things that I remember from 3 was being on the starship that you go on in 3. And I would just fuck around in the lobby of it and just shoot off all my weapons. And I would just see how many of those stars I could just make
Just really push that engine to its
yeah,
max.
dude. And I definitely remember as a kid, even though not really paying attention to, like, frame drops, I remember, like, a huge, like, slowdown of my, like, PS2 just, like, chugging along, just, like, trying to render all these stars at the same time. Just all moving around in, like, whatever curves or whatever.
Yeah.
There's too much.
I really liked the, like, tower defense. Well, was it a tower defense?
There are tower defense sections. Well, not like
it's
there's
not
like
tower
there's like
defense,
it's
but
like jump into a turret and defend a base type
it's
thing.
like it's like defending a base. Yeah, exactly. I really dug those sections because I think they had those and also an arena, if I'm not mistaken. Because the arena was kind of a big thing from the second game on, I believe. Because I don't think there was 1-on-1.
Nope.
Obviously, I'm pretty sure they put one in for the remake. They put an arena in, didn't they?
Don't think so.
No?
No.
What am I thinking of? Maybe I'm thinking of in the beginning of the game where, like,
Could
you're
be.
doing, like, the tryout or whatever.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking of. But no, I remember loving, like, everything about Up Your Arsenal. I loved all the little gadgets you got. I loved Dr. Nefarious as a villain. Him being like a fucking crazy maniacal cyborg, pretty much. Because you don't know anything about Ratchet and Clank, Connor, but he was a human, and they got defeated by a character named Captain Quark, who's kind of a dipshit.
Know about him.
You know Captain Quark?
I do know Captain Quark.
He's basically like the Star Trek like protagonist, like super into himself, like really
asshole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Piece of shit. Celebrity, like, I'm better than you. He defeats Dr. Nefarious, and then he becomes robotic, like a cyborg, and he, like, freaks out, and when he yells, he'll, like, freeze, and he'll pick up, like, a galactic soap opera, and it'll be like, John, I love you, and he's, like, frozen in, like, an angry face.
He malfunctions.
He malfunctions, yeah. And like he picks up the signal from like a radio station or like a TV station, and then his butler has to come over and like smack him. He's like, "This is my favorite part of my job," and he fucking smacks him, and he goes like, "Ah!" like continues to scream. It just, I don't know. It was so fun as a kid. It's great stuff.
And he's gonna be in the next game, right?
Yeah,
He's marketed
as the robotic version, because in the remake he was a regular organic life form. Tavin, you're making a face.
Up Your Arsenal represents everything that I dislike about Ratchet and Clank.
I know. I remember that was the game that you've told me personally, like that's your least favorite Ratchet and Clank.
It is the most linear. It is I do like the hub world in the big ship. I do like that, and I wish it was experimented with more in other games. But it is super linear. It begins the trend of Ratchet becoming a cartoon for kids and just kids. Like, it's not like the fun, like little like tongue-in-cheek, like wink and nudge that the first two games humor had. And like Dr. Nefarious is the key example of that. He's just a cartoon character. He has no real weight behind him, and he distracts more than anything. So I do think mechanically Up Your Arsenal is a good game. And there's a lot of good about Up Your Arsenal. But Up Your Arsenal also had the shortest development time of the original trilogy, and I think it shows. A lot of the levels feel stitched together. A lot of the environments aren't nearly as detailed as the environments in the first two games. I don't think any of the music slaps like the music in the first two games.
As a kid, I didn't really pay attention to music.
Yeah.
So I haven't played it in a long time.
I played it 4 years ago.
Oh, okay.
I had played it as a kid, and then when I went to revisit it, I didn't even finish it because I was like, this isn't what I like about Ratchet. Like, it's just not doing the things that are cool. The weapons are still there. The weapons are still cool. It's still fun to kill enemies. But it also has the least enemy variety. Like, you're seeing pretty much the same enemies throughout the entire game. Whereas in the first two, you have a new set of enemies every planet you go to, and every planet is unique and arguably iconic depending on which planet it is. And I don't feel that way about anything in Up Your Arsenal. So
remember Secret Agent Clank?
Oh, I do like that. That's fun. Yeah. That's fun. But yeah,
and then Ratchet's like his chauffeur.
Yeah, So so Up Your Arsenal, far from my favorite Ratchet and Clank game. But somehow, or I'll take that I'm in the minority opinion there, and I'll take that as I often am. But I think I'm more justified here to be in the minority. It's not like my Breath of the Wild take where I know I'm probably wrong, but I just feel that way. Up Your Arsenal, I feel like I'm a little more justified. But yeah, Up Your Arsenal, fine game, good pick for you. Glad it means so much to you, buddy.
Fuck you.
Fuck you. You're wrong. Number 6, The Witcher 3, Wild Hunt.
That should be number top 3.
Huh?
This should be top 3. One of the best games ever made.
It's number 6.
Oh, come on.
I just hear so many lists put it in their top 3.
I know,
and
I think for good reason. Witcher 3 is an excellent game.
Yeah.
Witcher 3, another example like Skyrim of just one of the best Western RPGs ever made. Where Witcher 3...
Come on, CD Projekt Red can do no wrong.
Where Witcher 3 exceeds for me over games like Skyrim, though, is their more direct approach to storytelling and to characters. This is a theme you're going to find a lot with me, just in general, with everything that I like.
Yeah.
Play Nier, then.
I know. I'm trying, Connor. Why is it a bullet hell 1 second and then it's a character action game the next?
Easy bullet hells, in fairness.
Pick a genre.
You haven't even gotten to later parts of the game.
I know. Anyways, Witcher 3, great RPG. A lot of people complain about the Witcher 3's gameplay now and are saying it's already not holding up. I disagree. Though it is stiff, and though it does feel like, even though you have these big swords, it feels like you're just hitting people with sticks. It's fun, man. It's fun to bounce between different enemies. It's fun to strategize and use your spells in interesting and new ways. It's fun to prepare for a hunt, and where you're given a contract and they're saying, hey, go kill this beast, and you go, okay, what can I learn about this beast? Oh, it's got a weakness to this oil. Well, let me go out there, let me go find some flowers, let me go craft this oil and apply it to my sword so that I do extra damage. So it gives me that little bit of edge. And on top of that, it's the finale to a story that exceeds just the 3 games and is capping off the end of this huge fantasy book series that wasn't ever big in the States until the games came around, but was huge in Sweden. Is that right, Connor?
I mean, isn't that where CD Projekt
Poland?
Red is from?
Poland, thank you. Yeah, and CD Projekt Red from Poland. The Witcher games, their baby, the ones that put them on the map.
Yep.
Witcher 2 is a great game as well, but the advancements that they make in 3, I think are undeniable. It feels so much better to play than 2.
What Witcher game?
Oh, hold on, pause. My little voice meter has reset itself. There we go. We're back. All right. I don't think it affected the recording, but
okay.
it just affected our
I was going to
headsets.
say, what Witcher game does the TV show draw from?
It draws most from 3.
Most from 3?
Most from 3.
Okay.
But it's drawing a lot from the books.
Okay.
It's drawing a lot from the book. Like, the first season is pretty much the first book.
Was it throw a coin to your Witcher?
None of that. None of that is in any of it.
Friend of humanity.
But yeah, the Witcher 3, when talking about RPGs and agency over character, when a game gives you dialogue options, when it allows you to build a character, I think you can go one of 2 routes in that way, and then the rest of the games kind of land on a spectrum where Skyrim, it's the most loose it could ever be. You're reacting however you want to react in that moment. You're not really building a character. You're kind of just going off of your feeling at the time. The Witcher is the complete opposite, where Geralt of Rivia is such an established character in the world of The Witcher that even though you do have dialogue options and you can drive the story in certain ways, you are putting yourselves in the shoes of an established character. So, if you're really invested in, quote unquote, playing the game right, even though I don't think that's a thing, you make the choices that make sense for the character of Geralt. So I think most people will probably end up with the same ending no matter what. Which I think is just as valid as the Skyrim method. It's really just what type of story, what type of world, what type of game are you crafting. I adore The Witcher 3 for that because I just like consistency in characters. I think it, character drives plot, and Witcher has a better plot because it has more solidified characters than games like Skyrim or whatever. But that's also not what you're going to an Elder Scrolls game for. But yeah, Witcher 3, absolutely adore it. I think it's a beautiful game. I think it's a vast game. And I think in the same year where Bethesda Games returned to the franchise that really put them on the map for console gamers and just completely blowing them out of the water and outshining them in every way, CD Projekt Red should still be incredibly, incredibly commended for their efforts with The Witcher 3. And also, the DLCs are phenomenal, too. And there was so much free content. Blood and Wine is another game that they just stitched onto Witcher 3 and said, here you go, $20, please. $20, okay. Absolutely phenomenal work. Connor.
Yes. Time for my number 6 pick, huh?
Number 6.
My number 6 pick, come out and say it, is The Last of Us. I don't know.
Way lower than I was expecting it to be.
Actually, I should have prefaced that by saying, I thought I would put it lower. I'd put it higher on my list, but ended up falling on number 6. Like I said with Mass Effect,
didn't even make it top 5.
I'm shocked, dude.
5. Just barely missed it for other reasons. For one reason in particular, but The Last of Us, I'm going to say it kind of began the revolution of games beginning to focus more on a story.
I agree. Even though there are examples and games you can point to where you're like, hey, wait,
Yes.
that story matters too, and that story is good too.
Like Red Dead Redemption.
Yeah,
a good example.
Red Dead,
Yeah, okay.
Metal Gear.
I get you.
You know,
A better way to say it is that it made it more, for the positives and negatives, it made them more movie-like in the way that it presents how the story is told, with obvious breaks with gameplay being included.
It took the.
I think it's the first one where I can recognize that too.
It takes the break in tone that happens from story to gameplay with every game. Red Dead Redemption, the original, can be as serious as it wants to be when the cutscenes are playing. But as soon as gameplay starts, you're treating it just like GTA, where you're driving your horse into wherever you want. You're doing whatever you want mechanically. The Last of Us, mechanically,
it sets you on those rails.
it keeps you on that tone. It keeps you, everything is driving towards something together. Whereas usually before The Last of Us, a story was driving you one way, but a game was still trying to keep it fun.
I mean, it has like the same as like it has the Pixar's Up effect, where like you start off like going one way, and you're like, okay, we're going this way, and then you hit kind of your all-time low in the game.
Yeah.
With
Well,
Joel's daughter.
I don't quite understand. Oh no, you're speaking just that moment narratively.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm speaking the binding of mechanics and narrative.
No, I'm just saying. It wasn't like trying to piggyback off what you were saying.
Yeah.
I was kind of just saying.
Yeah.
It has a very similar.
Oh, it sets that tone very quickly and
Yeah.
it sticks to it. And even when it cuts to gameplay, it cuts that way. But anyways, Connor, this is your pick.
Well, going on what you guys were saying, the core of why that's able to work so well is similarly to God of War, the relationship between the two characters, the two main characters, Ellie and Joel. And the development of their relationship across the entire story is, I would say, done better than God of War 4. Because God of War 4, it has that familial element that already binds them in that way, rather than just a simple job. Whereas Last of Us, they become equivalent to a family.
I also think the writing in the first Last of Us game is better than God of War.
I would say so as well. Yeah,
I agree.
That's another reason why I put it higher than God of War, just one above it.
Not taking anything away from God of War.
No,
I
no,
think
no,
God
no,
of War
no.
is another example of one of these games that you can point to and be like, hey, this is a different level of narrative binding to mechanics. Go ahead.
And the relationship that develops between them is done in such a natural way and such a likable way that it never feels forced. I never once thought to myself that these two characters are only saying the things they're saying and doing the things they're saying because the story allows for it. It seems like they could have honestly gone throughout the entirety of the game without having, any kind of connecting moment to make them like each other more, and it could have been even a story about them hating one another for various different reasons. It could have really gone any way that the developers wanted to because of two people traveling together across the entire country. Could have brought in its own problems and it could have brought its own problems.
It's a road trip with zombies.
Yes, it's a road trip with zombies. It can go either way. It can go really any way.
Yeah.
And the giraffe moment is Tavin's pissing is a perfect example of innocence in the middle of this war-torn world that makes Ellie and Joel's dynamic seem more like a father and daughter than almost any point in the game until that point.
Isn't that right before Ellie gets really hurt and has
Ellie or Joel?
No, Ellie. Yes. Yeah, it's right before they take her to the hospital for the Fireflies where they're set up. It's right before that.
Is it right before that?
Yes.
I thought it was right before Joel's accident.
No.
The giraffe?
Yeah, damn.
Giraffe is towards the end of the game.
Because the reason the giraffe works so well is because it functions narratively as a moment to bring innocence and life back into a relationship that has been damaged, because Ellie is on the first time on her own. And
she has to kill.
She goes through this she kills left and right in this game.
Sure, but I'm saying, but she has to.
Well, she goes through this incredibly tragic moment, and it could have been so much worse. And Joel isn't there for her for the first time. Nobody is there for her for the first time.
Pretty much on her own.
She is 100% on her own. So that happening doesn't damage the relationship between Ellie and Joel, but it puts a dampen on it. It pumps the brakes on their bond. and you immediately feel that in the next level where there's dissonance between them. They're not walking together anymore as they had, like they're back. It's almost a reset where in the beginning of the game they're not walking together, and then as you progress towards the middle, they're a little closer, and then that moment happens and they separate again, and the draft is what brings them back together and finalizes their moment as father-daughter.
Seriously amazing, and the gameplay I thought was very fun. I know there have been people out there that say after a while it got very stale and boring.
It's also not aging the best.
From what people tell me, my last experience with the game was that it was aged pretty well, and that's the mindset I have going into it.
I think it's aging fine for what it is. I'm with you where I like the gameplay. I never at time of launch I didn't understand the criticisms with the gameplay. The shooting is difficult, but it's intentionally difficult.
Yes.
You're supposed to be just a normal guy who's trying his best.
Yeah.
Seemed like it was easier than Resident Evil 7 to me, as far as gunplay went.
Well, I feel like in Resident Evil 7 you're meant to be more helpless than you are in Last of Us.
Yeah, there was definitely more elements.
Last of Us, you also
helplessness.
improve as you progress. Resident Evil 7, you keep that same level of terrible shooting the entire way through.
Yeah.
It's crazy how influential Last of Us is as a game as well.
And it's so immediately you see it everywhere now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
I want to do that too. But
I want to make a lot of money too.
I want national attention.
A lot of money too. I think it also solidifies Naughty Dog as
one of the best.
and as the best, and I don't think they've been dethroned since. And I don't think they've missed since, but that's me.
Fantastic game.
Last of Us, great game, great pick, Connor.
Not me.
Phil,
Yeah.
number, what are we on? 6.
We are on number 6.
The end of 6.
Yep, this is the last 6s. So there's kind of a trend for me in playing games as a child, and it's that I play the first one and then the third one. And I skip the second one for some reason.
Okay.
So, Crash Bandicoot 3. Crash Bandicoot Warped. Very well known as possibly the worst of the 3. It's just, for me, I have the most experience with that one. I don't know, Connor, have you ever played a Crash Bandicoot game?
I've never played a single Crash Bandicoot in the same way I haven't played a Ratchet & Clank game, because these are all baby games, dude. They're child games. I play adult games with blood.
I play grown-up games with asses and blood.
I do. I like 2B and 9S.
Wasn't your 9 Breath of the Wild? There's no blood in that game, Connor.
But there's Link.
There's comic mischief.
But there's
Moving on.
Link.
Phil, why is Crash Warped so great?
Well, you also have never played a Crash Bandicoot game, Tavin.
No, sir.
We'll fix that eventually.
Eventually.
So Warped, it's different from the other Crash Bandicoot games in that instead of being on like one island where you're going to different parts of the island, Crash Bandicoot Warped, it's like one central area, and you have these warp gates where like you go to a different place in the world, a different place in time. So like you could be there's like a level that I remember most vividly is you on like the Great Wall of China riding a tiger. Riding a tiger on the Great Wall of China, fucking avoiding obstacles, just jumping over boxes, trying to avoid enemies. It's just, Crash is just one of the most iconic platformers, and it's just it is what it is. It's Crash,
Crash, baby.
It's so good.
You're looking
I don't really know what else I can really say about Crash other than it's great platforming. It's challenging. At times you want to pull your hair out with how difficult it is.
Which people kind of forget. I always forget that Crash Bandicoot is as difficult as it is.
Yeah, man.
You would think it'd be an easy game, but it looks difficult.
Mm-hmm.
And I played I guess I did play it in Uncharted 4, and I had a hard time of it. But
I mean, it was in that age of games where games were still like really hard, like right before they started making games a lot easier. At least platformers, that is.
It's also an early, quote unquote, 3D game, even though it's not really 3D. It's just changing your camera angle. But it's using a 3D model as opposed to a 2D one. So there's some awkwardness there as the industry learns how to deal with this new perspective.
Well, that's pretty much all I have to say about Crash. It's it's been a staple of my games library.
Fantastic. Number 5.
Tavin?
I sense some shame coming.
No, absolutely not. Maybe only in where this game lands
Connor,
in its placement.
you've known Tavin for how long, and you still think he has shame?
That's fair enough. That is true. That is true.
My number 5 game is a pick for a franchise that I wish I could just put the entire thing in there. But we don't feel like that's right. That's cheating.
I know what it is.
So I gotta pick a single one. So I might as well pick this one. It's a game that, much like how I was just talking about Witcher 3 and the crafting of characters in RPGs and the malleability of a character in RPG, I think this one hits. And I talked about that spectrum of Skyrim versus Witcher 3. I think Mass Effect hits right dead in the middle, where it's the perfect level of they give you enough context to kick you off as your journey as Commander Shepard, but they leave it open enough to where from there you can move and have room to breathe, but still create consistency, not amongst just one but 3 games. Your motivations can remain consistent, or they can change for valid reasons that the world gives it to you. And if I have to pick one, I gotta pick the first one. Because
But 2's better.
No.
I wouldn't know, Connor.
I'm in the minority where I think two is not only not the best, but I think it's my least favorite of the trilogy. And I don't want to say it's the worst, because I think 2 is also a phenomenal game. And I don't think you're wrong for liking any of the 3 over the others, even though I don't understand the hype 2 gets. Like, relax. But the trilogy as a whole is a series where I don't think there's any peak, but there's also no valley. There's no moment where you go, fuck, this sucks. But there's no moment where you go, this is the best experience you can ever have in video games.
It's consistent.
It's pretty damn consistent throughout the entire thing. And it's all, like, it's never 10s, but it's never below an 8. Ever. And, just, I don't even understand how you do that amongst a trilogy of games, let alone one. One takes the spot for me just because I think it's got the most unique stories that are told in the 3 games. I think the level of design can really vary from planet to planet, at least the main handcrafted planets, whereas the Uncharted worlds do fall quite short of where the main story drives you. I think the Mako is clunky and doesn't always work. But I was a Mako apologist before the Legendary Edition. They improved the Mako greatly in the Legendary Edition, and the changes that they made to the shooting and the gameplay of Mass Effect 1 solidified it to me as my favorite in the trilogy. But also the atmosphere that the world of that first game is undeniably best in that first game.
Not just world, Tavin. Universe.
Universe. It's that expansive.
And like this is much like Star Wars. This is a world that came from nothing. Like, and it's so well thought out
So
and
original.
built and original, and it's got all of these different concepts, and it hits you immediately with all of them. You are dropped in the middle of, hey, shit's been going on for a while.
I think the only
and
thing
you've
that
got to
you could-
catch up.
The only thing that you could even say it's somewhat derivative of, it would be Star Trek, and even then it would be very minimal.
Oh yeah, and I think this is gaming's best example of this is just a whole world and universe that is built out, and it's a real thing, or at least it's as real as it can be. There's no holes. There's no, like, in a world with space magic, there's no space magic to justify character moments or plot points.
No.
You know, everything has a reason, and like to the point of, I mean, we just finished our playthrough on HYEP today.
I was gonna say, Tavin, I don't know if you know this, but I played Mass Effect.
You've played Mass Effect. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. But there's no point, or there's like a whole point in this game where like the big threat, where like usually the motivations for those threat would be because they want to. There's like explanations of why they're doing it and for what, like how they're doing it. And usually like you just kind of glaze over that, but they go into detail and they go, hey man, this is what other people tried to do to counter the big threat, and it didn't work because they had thought of that. Like, there's layers upon layers upon layers upon layers of everything. And the Legendary Edition, the improvements that take it from a game that's okay, yeah, it's rough, but there's so much good here, to a game that there's only good here with a couple of rough things. Mm-hmm. I adore Mass Effect as a world. I wish I could throw the entire trilogy in this spot, but if I got to pick one, it's got to be the first one, just because it's so well built in a way that the other two aren't, but only because they're using the foundation established in this one.
Very good pick, Evan.
Fantastic. Love that game. Connor.
It is a great game. It kicked off a great trilogy of a series. Really amazing.
Connor.
I'm excited to play the next two.
You will look forward to them, I can guarantee you. Another game that you might look forward to playing
is your number 5.
I'm number 5 pick, Dark Souls 3. the best Dark Souls game out of all of them, and I will die on that hill. Now, the reason why I had to put this one over the other Dark Souls also goes hand in hand what makes it so great. It's the Dark Souls, I specify Dark Souls, not Sekiro, not Bloodborne, Dark Souls formula and game style done to the best of its capabilities. It has the best bosses, whereas 2 had a lot of bosses, but the quality was definitely the lowest out of all the Soulsborne games. And 1, which had some really good bosses, but it ended up dipping around halfway through the game, and you kind of got, more repetitive, uninteresting boss fights. But in 3, you're consistently getting great boss fights every single time you go to a new area, and that really shows how well that game developed over the course of its game cycle, where they knew what players enjoyed, they knew what made good boss fights, whether it be fighting tragic heroes with big swords or going up against, crazy, ridiculous-looking demons. Really made for some great set pieces that weren't like traditional set pieces in games like the God of War games or Uncharted. But beyond the amazing design of boss fights, the enemy variety is great. I was constantly going through the game and meeting new and different enemies that never were copy and pasted and were each specific to their area. Like, they usually would actually work into the lore of the game as well. So, for example, in Dark Souls 3, there's a DLC where a city full of people that had gone hollow was formed by, like, the first men, so to speak. And a lot of the people there are in a sense, they're kind of hollows, but it's kind of hard to describe what they are. But the enemies are hollows that have kind of been hollows for a long time, and they're very powerful. They're very, very, their whole entire culture and the armor and the weapons they use are based around the Dark Souls lore associated with these types of enemies. It's very good. Man, there's a lot of things I love about Dark Souls.
I personally never played a Dark Souls game ever. The closest I've ever gotten is I've watched like the Game Grumps play like Dark Souls 3 and Bloodborne, and that's it.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of the rage reactions too. I don't know if you watch those as well.
Yeah.
Of people getting pissed off at the boss fights, but the gameplay itself also was great with things like weapon arts being introduced, whereas in the first and second game they didn't have that. You had your light attack and your strong attack, or you used magic. But in this one, each weapon had their own ability that you can use to give combat encounters a bit more flexibility in what you're capable of doing, rather than just being locked into a build that says you have to block with your shield and then go in and swing with your one-armed sword.
You have more choice.
You have more choice, yes, which goes into the RPG elements of Dark Souls. I feel like this one was more of an RPG than any of the other ones because of those reasons, and it's seeming like the weapons have more variety than just being better additions of previous weapons that you got in the past. But yeah, Dark Souls 3, absolutely amazing game. I love it.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Phil, number 5.
My number 5 game is another platformer. It's going to be Super Mario Odyssey.
Dumb game.
Oh, okay. Fantastic.
Dumb
game.
Never
This little
played
bitch.
Dude, Super Mario Odyssey, fantastic. I think of the 3D Marios, I think it's just barely over Sunshine for me.
Okay.
I think it has just more we've talked about it when we played Sunshine on
HYEP.
But I think we both agree that Odyssey is the best 3D Mario.
It's a coin toss between that and Galaxy for me.
Oh, okay. I think it's kind of like a love letter to
Really is.
Mario fans.
Mm-hmm.
The addition
That new Donk City finale,
yeah, dude,
incredible.
The fucking the bit where you're 8-bit, right, and you're going side scrolling,
yep.
doing like the Donkey Kong original game.
But back to the game as a
it's
whole.
fucking crazy. It's just that whole. I think New Donk City is probably my favorite.
It's one of the best Mario moments ever. Period.
I think it's my favorite world in the game. Just because like the scale of it, the scale of all the worlds in that game actually, like fucking Bowser's Kingdom.
I also like how varied all the levels are in size.
there's-
Like some of them you're there for 5 seconds, and then others you're there for 5 hours.
Yeah,
I
100%ed that game.
did not.
Dang,
I didn't have time for
There's
that.
a lot of there's a lot of collectibles.
There is
isn't there?
a lot to do in that game.
Yep.
I 100%ed it. I got all the outfits. I got all the moons. I got all the
moons, yeah.
coins. I did everything in that game.
I think what's great about that game is that not only is it 3D platforming at its best, like a lot of these Mario games are, it provides the player with one of the, probably the most dynamic moveset Mario has ever had with the addition of Cappy.
Just with the addition of Cappy alone, yeah.
But it keeps the platforming relatively simple pretty much the entire way through, with the exception of a few moments.
Did you know you can beat that game with only capturing 3 things in the entire game?
Oh, just like moments where they force you to put the cap on a thing or whatever?
Either that or you just can't possibly get past it. So yeah.
Yeah, so they force you to do it.
So yeah, I think it's only 3 times.
That's cool. And then but the level design of that game is truly phenomenal, in which they progress you, as they do, and they add more layers and levels and different platforming challenges as you continue. But then they just turn it up to 11 with that darker side of the moon, man. And they say, hey, for those who are like really about this, here you go. Here's this gauntlet that like it's a badge of honor to get through. And not everyone is going to be able to do it.
It took me a while.
It took me like a whole day to figure it out. And then to just such a bold choice to just cap off your game that way in an optional level, but like to cap it off, like it's like one of the last things you're going to do.
To cap it off.
Yeah, right. With something that says, "Hey, okay, we know we haven't been going the hardest we could be on you this whole game. Here's this." On top of that, I think like each world is so beautifully crafted and unique. Yeah, and I just love the moment where it turns into Dark Souls for 5 seconds, and then it goes all right, back to Mario. Yeah, Odyssey.
I love the Mushroom Kingdom at the very end.
Oh my god, it's great.
Yeah.
Oh my god, it's fantastic. I forgot about that world.
Yoshi.
Yeah, you're playing around in environments that you haven't played in 64, except now they're all HD and beautiful.
Yeah, it's amazing.
The cosmetic parts of that game are fantastic. Dressing up in like a sombrero or a like a little bathing
I forgot
suit.
about Sand Kingdom, dude.
Sand Kingdom's great. I always go to the I forget what it's called, like the dessert land where everything is like cake and like sugar rivers and shit.
What's that called? Luncheon.
The Luncheon Kingdom. Yeah. Just really, really, just a phenomenal game, and yeah, just
Final
I'm gonna
boss
play it now.
Poketeel. Very good.
Very good. All right, so moving on, number 4. A game we've already talked about. For me, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate.
Oh, here it is.
So
Heyo.
I don't have much more.
Hi.
I don't have much more to. It is quite high. I don't have much more to add on top of what we already said. So I'm gonna go ahead and kick it to Connor here. Number 4.
4 is the newest addition to the list that I can't really talk much about either, and that is Omori.
I thought this was going to be on your list.
Oh,
with how much I've heard you talk about it, I was like,
yes.
I would be surprised if Connor does not mention Omori.
I gotta play this game. Dude.
I've never played it.
I really like the story. Now, there's a reason why I put this above Last of Us. That was the big question I thought. I was like, okay, both of them are very emotional-based games as far as the characters are concerned. I have never teared up.
One quite literally, like, mechanically emotional.
Yeah. But Omori has never made me tear up or go back and rewatch scenes and tear up the same way I did the first time I watched those scenes than Omori. Very few. I did play a game earlier in 2020, well, kind of mid 2020, that made me think about the game long after I'd finished it, and I didn't think I would feel that for a while longer. But then Omori came along, and even today, I still think about the events that transpired in that game and how amazingly they were pulled off and how emotionally they were pulled off. I can't really say much about the story beyond that. I've said that before because it's a very spoiler-heavy game, even talking about what the game's about.
Yeah.
So the combat is the biggest drawback to it. If the combat was something like spectacular and amazing, I would put it probably higher on my list. But it's a usual...
four.
What?
Still 4.
Still 4. Still almost top 3.
Right.
It's traditional JRPG. You have your cast members taking turns to fight a person. Sometimes they go before them. Sometimes they go after the enemy does.
I've heard you kind of like very loosely, but on the podcast compare it sort of to like Undertale.
Yes. Well, in the way the world is structured and kind of the emotional beats of the game. In terms of what it's trying to make you feel.
Do you know about Deltarune, which is like the kind of
I do know about
spiritual
that.
successor to Undertale?
Yes.
Would it be more like that?
I'm not familiar with the gameplay of Deltarune.
It's party based. I know that.
Yeah, it's probably more similar to that.
Probably more similar.
What Omori does interesting that Tavin actually was very interested in was the emotion system in the game.
System.
Yeah.
I heard you guys talking about it.
I gotta figure out what all this means.
What all this means?
Yeah, I gotta go play this.
Yeah,
game.
It's 20 hours maybe.
It's been sitting on my computer ever since the first time you talked about it.
I know. I remember you bought it right then. I was like, oh, he's gonna play it.
I don't own it yet.
Yeah, buy it whenever you want to, but it's absolutely an amazing game. Can't stop thinking about it. Hopefully, when you guys play it, you'll enjoy it as much as I did.
Yeah,
but
we can nerd out about it when we play it.
Yeah, I hope so. But that's really a lot of the stuff that I would talk about regarding the game is the story and the characters.
We don't want to get into spoilers.
Can't say that, yeah. So go on, Phil.
That's all I have to say about that.
That's all I gotta say about that.
Phil.
Yep.
Number
All right,
4.
So my number 4. I know Tavin has played this game. I'm not sure if Connor has, because I'm not sure if he's really into the looter shooter genre. Borderlands 2.
Oh,
I have played Borderlands 2.
He loves Borderlands.
Very, very fun game.
Great game.
Borderlands 2, fantastic. I love just obviously with the inclusion of the DLC, the like different characters, and each of those characters having their own like separate trees that you can go off of. Like the depth of all the different like combat elements that there are, the different like thousands upon thousands of guns, right? That are all different in some way to each other. Some very minorly. They're just the ragtag group of characters that are just all throughout this game. Some higher quality than others.
Yeah.
Just also I think probably at least top 3 villains in games of all time.
The Handsome Jack.
Handsome Jack.
I'm not going top 3, but
You don't think so?
he's an excellent villain.
Handsome Jack.
I would say top 3 either. I'd say up there, though,
Okay.
as well. He's great.
You're dealing with like Liquid Snakes and Sephiroths and
Liquid Snake, huh?
You wouldn't put Liquid Snake that high?
No, I wouldn't.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
But no,
Yeah.
just fucking Handsome Jack as a character and a villain, not even just as a villain, but as a character in general, like he's insane. And I love I'm not a huge fan of the pre-sequel, but the characterization they have for Jack in that game too, it's phenomenal. Like they kind of go.
It's one of the first times a prequel adds a new dimension to an already established character and
yeah.
makes them more interesting.
Yeah, because he already was super interesting. Because that's basically him after him being an asshole in Borderlands 2. That's basically like him, but they go into more of it in the pre-sequel where like they talk about how he started, like how he got to start at this like cutthroat company, and he literally climbed his way up the ladder. Like he I don't. It's just fucking nuts.
No, yeah, you even see that in the Telltale game where one of the characters is in that.
I
corporate
think
structure.
with the exception of the Telltale game, Borderlands 2 is the best story of the franchise.
Yes. Yeah. Borderlands 2 is made even better, as you were saying, with the pre-sequel and Tales.
Yeah.
Just makes not only just the world better, but also Handsome Jack better.
I played Borderlands 2. I started off trying to do as the Psycho, but it was just really tough.
That character fucking sucks.
He's my favorite character.
I know he
No,
is.
I like him as a character.
wrong for
but
liking
playing as him.
I even like playing.
He's trash.
I don't know. It's really hard. I don't know
Necromancer
what
all
about
the
it.
fucking way.
The Necromancer is
So
super
good.
fucking good.
Why'd you walk up and hit him with my
Necromancer is
stick?
broken as fuck.
Broken as
Necromancer
fuck.
is nuts.
Puppet character. She could be in a fighting game.
Okay, I don't know what you're talking
Is she?
about.
That's what that puppet character is, someone that controls something else to fight.
Okay,
She's a
gotcha,
pu-
gotcha,
It works in that
Oh,
context.
are you saying that she could be in a fighting game?
Yeah, I mean,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
I thought you said she was.
She would-
I was like, oh,
no.
really?
That would be funny.
That'd be
Also,
interesting.
just the jumping quality, might appear subtle, but it's really quite great from Borderlands 1 to 2, in which
Yeah.
Borderlands 1 is fun enough on your own, but that's more of a co-op shooter, play around with your friends, have fun. 2 works both ways.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's just as entertaining solo as it is with a full squad of friends. And just the world of Borderlands is just so charming and, unique in the art style.
Oh, I love the cell shading.
Never
Yes,
gets
lo-
old.
The cell
like-
shading was always nice to look at in 1, and
Yeah.
2 it just has slightly better graphics.
Yeah,
than 1.
well, and more dynamic and interesting environments to go through and
Yes,
stuff. So
that's a big part of it too.
And some great DLC packs in,
Oh,
that,
for
in
sure.
that game as well.
You got fucking the Dungeons and Dragons DLC,
That
where
was
like,
hilarious.
yeah,
So yeah, great
You got
pick,
fucking
great game.
Handsome Jack is like an evil wizard.
Yeah. Never played that.
No.
No.
I got about halfway through, and then
I don't know if
burnt
you know.
out.
You remember Tiny Tina?
Oh yeah, I remember Tiny Tina.
She's like the dungeon master for like for the group.
I remember hearing about that, and I was like, "Well, that'd be cool to play," but I just never did.
It's super fucking funny.
Great game.
Great game.
We are here.
Finally,
Top 3.
the top 3 games. I need to make a time. I forgot I wanted to put a time code here. Hold on. What time is we at?
You know, Phil,
Okay, so like
you may want to correct me if you want to, but I think we've only had 28 crossover games so far.
No, well, I mean we've only had 2.
Yes, so
yeah, so we're at,
So
20,
we're
we're
at
at 28
unique
games on the
games.
list.
So I'm winning right now. Hopefully, you guys we know crossover in these last top 3.
I think Connor won. I'm fairly certain he won because
I mean, I don't think y'all are gonna have any of these games on your lists.
We'll
I
find
mean,
out.
there's only one that I know that we've already established was a crossover. So, anyways, number 3.
I mean, my top 3 is not any of y'all's. So
I don't even know how to begin the conversation of this game. This is a game that I started playing near the end of high school. I didn't finish until I was almost done getting my associate's degree. And it's not because it's that long. It's not because it's that hard. It's simply like it's just a game that took me a while to get through because of life, because I, got distracted with other things, because I started it, got a good chunk through, then put it down, forgot where I was, started at a difficulty higher than I should have and had to start over. But somehow, through all of that and how long it took me to play it, it somehow hit me on an emotional level by the end that I one, I wasn't expecting it to, and 2, it's the only time in my playing of video games where I got to the end and it actually felt like saying goodbye to a friend. For really the last time. And I just remember tears building up in my eyes as the character you play as gets on the train and all his friends are running down the platform as the train pulls out and they're crying and they're yelling
Harry
goodbye and yeah, and there's tears building in my eyes, and into my memory, I don't know if the game puts a blur on the screen or if the blur was coming from my own tears. And it just left me gutted and devastated in the best way. It's not a sad feeling. You're sad because you're saying goodbye, but it's not a sad moment. And on top of that, It's one of the best JRPGs you could ever fucking play. And it's equally, your classic turn-based RPG where you're going through menus and you're unlocking new abilities, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But it also spends half its time as a high school simulator. What? Persona 4 Golden is by far one of the best games anybody can ever fucking play. And I just don't see how that franchise can get any better. And this is coming from someone who's played P5 Royal twice. Just the level of connection you make with those characters, the intrigue in the plot. It's a murder mystery where they give you all the clues, but I'll say the storytelling isn't so great to where you'll be able to solve it on your own. But it's just such an exceptional piece of work in that, that town that you live in is so, it's not distinct. It's actually quite generic, and it's quite bland, but there's a charm to it in its blandness and in its smallness that living there and spending all that time in that town, you really do feel like you're part of just the smallest community as they deal with this harrowing moment in time. And I just remember all the little moments just as much as the big moments. And I remember getting to a certain dungeon and thinking we found the killer, and so clearly it's not the killer because you've got another 30 hours left in the game. But getting to that moment, and for whatever reason, even though the threat's not over, you also take a sigh of relief along with everybody else. But there's still that nagging feeling in the back of your mind, and it's in these characters' minds as well that this was too easy, and then they just progresses in the most interesting ways, and these characters are the most so well developed. Not to mention, it started the conversation of what it means to be gay and what it means to be a gay man. At a time in video games where it wasn't cool to be, at a time culturally, even in the West, it wasn't cool to be gay, but and it's, still looked on weirdly and archaically in Japan. And for them to take that route, and, they don't handle it the best, but they handle it, better than most games were at the time, and they handle it better than every Japanese video game at the time. And it's just so fascinating and so well acted, and it's when they cut to the anime cutscenes, it's beautiful. I don't think the main game looks bad either, but it's old. And the world of Persona, I don't think is there's nothing that comes even close in any other game, even in its own franchise, than Persona 4 Golden. Some out to my man Teddy. Chie, best girl.
Everyone says that.
Chie?
Oh yeah, everybody.
She is, but there's some good ones too.
I respect your choice, Tavin. I could not get into it.
You're wrong, Connor. Phil, it's the same reason that we keep fucking talking about. You have to warm up to games. The hour and a half you spent on it, not enough time.
It was 2 hours.
I don't know how Persona 4 plays, but I know 5 takes time getting to the actual mechanics of the game. Don't know if 4 is any different.
It was 2 hours and nothing happened.
Yeah, that's a JRPG.
Well, not JRPGs.
Well,
Persona
it's a Persona
games.
game, definitely. Yeah. But you got to keep going, man. I'm telling you, Persona is it's not an adult, but it's a grown up Pokemon. It's Pokemon. It just is.
I've always heard that comparison, and I don't believe it for a second.
It's absolutely Pokemon, but with an actual story and characters you care about. Connor.
Well, we already talked about it earlier. It was one of the other crossovers that you knew was eventually coming. And three Fire Emblem 3 Houses. Funny enough, three Houses, number 3 spot.
Tell us how it be, Connor.
Outside of how fun it is to develop relationships between all of your students and you and your students as well. The interconnectivity of just characters talking with one another, great in the game. The routes are all very fun. to focus on something a little bit differently, one of the reasons why I love this game so much is when I compare it to Fire Emblem Awakening, when I compare it to Fire Emblem Fates, those games, the tactics that you use in those those games are pretty similar. Obviously, with the removal of the weapon triangle system, which was always bad. It's a good thing that 3 kind of got rid of that.
But also, it doesn't exist in the way that it used to. It used to be so much more definitive. Like you could only use this weapon against that weapon type. There's a little more freedom in that. But bow and arrow still beats a spearman mostly.
Yeah. But the weapon triangle mainly constituted axes, swords, and spears.
Yeah.
Bows were kind of their own area with their own things associated with it.
They always were better on flying enemies though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
There's still rules, but it's like less restrictive.
It's less restrictive. Yeah. The weapon triangle was always just a restrictive thing that didn't need to be there. So them removing that was a big improvement from those other games. But I'm not even mentioning the like I said before, how well you connect with characters, which sometimes could be kind of. Yeah, in other games, the character would be there, but they would never be acknowledged after their initial recruitment and their supports. There was no hub area to go to and talk with them. Fates had that, but Awakening didn't have that. And Fate suffered from the problem of the supports not being the best comparison to Awakening or Three Houses. Jumping back into gameplay, though, Three Houses looks a lot more higher quality. They're not little sprites, which even though I find those endearing, they're,
there's some distance there.
Yeah, there's some distance. And now opting for a 3D model on a field with a bunch of other 3D models leads to a grander scale of what is happening rather than just little individual sprites that
it personalizes each fight.
Yes, it personalizes each fighter, especially with the units you can have that travel along with them that also lead to a greater scope of things. Because one thing that I would do a lot is, even though I didn't play the game this way, I would zoom in all the way to the max where you could see all your troops and your main character.
Cool.
Yeah, and you could just, I would roam around the map and just see it look like a real battle that's playing out with troops shifting over and over.
Rather than just 10 little 3D models running at each other, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Which gave that a grander scale and made me really enjoy that a lot more. But also, the character writing was honestly very good. Claude
very good.
Was a very nuanced and conniving character that you never really knew what his goals were, if he was a bad guy.
It's kind of hard to tell what he's thinking most of the time.
Exactly. That's the assumption or the analysis that your main character made when you first see him among the 3 other house leaders. Dimitri is an amazingly well-written tragic character who has a spectacular redemption. The reason why I was debating why the Blue Lions route may be better than Golden Deer. You don't think so?
Redemption based on what route you choose.
Yeah, the Blue Lions route specifically is where the redemption lies.
There's no redemption in Golden Deer or Black Eagles for him.
Nope, none whatsoever for those routes. But despite that, fantastic game. I think my final hours were 130.
I easily have over 200 hours in that game.
Yeah.
Easily.
Yeah, it's tons. I may even be under. No, it's probably over 200 now that I think about it.
If you play all 3 routes, it's got to be.
It's got to be, yeah. Jesus, no game has had that much content and never really being bored with it.
I
always
never
looking for the next
got
thing.
stale for me.
No, because each route, which I do, the Golden Deer route is better because it's more comprehensive. But I'm happy that not all the routes were comprehensive because there was always something to learn in each route. At least from my perspective, because Golden Deer was last, which I think was the best choice to make because everything kind of slowly developed. And I kept asking myself, why does Byleth have that thing in his heart? Is he dead? Who are those that slither in the dark?
Yeah.
Who are these people that are causing all these problems?
I think I did Blue Lions last.
See, I was lucky. Yeah, I know you did, but it was good to see that development as you went through each route, and it uncovered layer by layer the nuances of things that were going on in the world of Fodlan. But best Fire Emblem game became recently one of my favorite games of all time, as it being on number 3.
Best girl who?
Shamir.
It's Shamir, baby.
Petra, bro.
Nah,
okay,
Petra's
Petra,
great. Petra's great.
All about Petra.
Love Petra.
Top 3 is Shamir, Petra. This where it gets different.
Do you not remember any of the names?
I remember the names.
Mercedes or...
See, Rhea is
Marissa's
curvy.
okay. You like
It's
Rhea?
curvy.
She's curvy.
She's curvy, bro.
She's curvy.
Sure, but like, there's nothing
She's got that
else
MILF quality about her.
I'm not into Rhea.
But
Men of culture understand.
you know what? I'll jump in later when I have my third. But cricket.
Phil,
Yeah.
number 3.
Oh man, you're gonna hate this, Tavin.
Am I?
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Especially with how you talked about your number 3.
Oh boy.
My number 3.
Oh, it's Pokemon.
It is.
Oh, okay.
It's Pokemon Soul Silver.
I
Soul
was expecting
Silver.
something like this.
Pokemon Soul Silver version. Pokemon has been such a huge part of my gaming history as a kid now to an adult. It's just been so fucking huge. The original Silver version was actually not the first game, but like the first handheld game I ever played, and even then it was super early. I think it might have been my third game ever. I would just play on my stepmom was like a big gamer like back in her day, so she gave me her old Game Boy and I had Silver version, and so when they made a remake for it in I think 2010 or 2000, no, it was 2009 I think. I immediately like gravitated toward it. It has the best starters, in my opinion. I think the Gen 2 starters are the best. Gen 2 is my favorite generation of any Pokemon game. Totodile is the best Pokemon starter in the series, in my opinion. And I will die on that hill.
Would Spencer barge in angrily at that?
No, Spencer would agree.
Okay, good.
Spencer
Yeah,
also loves Totodile.
I can't remember what Totodile looks like.
He's a little fucking crocodile, dude. He's so fucking cute.
Totodile.
Yeah.
Of course. He's great.
Yeah,
what are we
man.
talking about? Yeah.
He's so
Ugh.
awesome. He's the best. He's
Oh, yeah, that little
he's a
fucker.
cute little guy.
Very-
Look at him go.
Digimon-esque qualities without the big feet.
Big feet.
But no,
Four hands.
Totodile's fucking great. I have a great memory of my brother would play Silver version back when I was a kid, like before I got my hands on it, and I got his save file and I released his starter by mistake. So he just didn't have it for the rest of the game. So he had to reset
That
or
sucks.
just continue without it. He was so pissed.
I'm going to be honest. I may have played Soul Silver.
Yeah?
Because
It's the best one.
I-
It's Gen 4. Yeah, you get Pokemon that follow behind you through the overworld.
they do that, don't they?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think I played that for a little bit. I get so muddied on which game I played. The only two I remember playing is Emerald and Diamond.
Emerald is also very good. Diamond being another Gen 4. Gen 4 is probably... Gen 4, Gen 5 are very, very close for me in terms
okay.
of best like generation. The only reason Gen 4 is up there is because Soul Silver for me. And Platinum is also really good. But no, Soul Silver version in general is just it's the best because not only do you have Johto region where you go through and get your 8 badges, after you beat the Elite Four, you can go back to Kanto, the first gen, and beat all those gym leaders, and they're all their Pokemon are super leveled up because I think the Elite Four in Johto is like 44, maybe like low 50s. And then every gym leader in Kanto is ratcheted up to like mid 50s all the way up to like 70s. So it's fucking nuts.
As far as Pokemon
And then you
games
challenge
go,
the Elite Four after, and they're all powered up to like 70s and almost 80s.
was this the hardest Pokemon game or one of the
No.
hardest? No, it was not.
No, I think the hardest, as far as like most recent, has been Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon,
Oh, okay.
because they actually like gave the enemy like really high level Pokemon, really all like the nuances in Pokemon. Like there's something called EV training, which is effort value, since EV, which is whatever like a certain Pokemon you defeat in battle will increase like an extra point for one of your Pokemon, whether it's like attack, special attack, speed. They'll all be EV trained and have the best natures, and natures in Pokemon boosts certain stat that your Pokemon might be good at. Like there's something called an adamant nature. So if you have a physical attacking Pokemon, you want them to have an adamant nature because that boosts physical attacks but lowers special attacks.
Okay.
So that plus EV training makes all the Pokemon in Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, all like the major battles, they all have perfect natures, perfect IVs, which is inherent values, and EVs. So inherent values is like the best random number you can get for that Pokemon for certain stats. So like they have inherently high attack or inherently high speed. And that's where it gets most difficult. But the reason I love Soul Silver so much is because it has the combination of the best regions technically, because it's 2, the best final boss battle in Red, who's the original protagonist from Red and Green in Japan, Red and Blue in America, on Mount Silver.
He's in this game.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
he's
okay,
at
that's
the very,
the game.
very, very end. You have to beat the Elite Four twice, and you have to beat the regular Johto gym leaders once, and then the Kanto gym leaders once, in order to beat the Elite Four twice.
And isn't all of his like Pokemon level 100?
Almost. I think they're high 80s, low 90s.
Oh, okay.
If I remember correctly. But it's just fucking nuts. It's such a crazy amount of combinations. It's perfect storm for me. Best starter, best region, Pokemon follow behind you. It's just also great Pokedex in general. It has very wide variety from anywhere from Gen 1 all the way to Gen 4. Because once you beat the Elite Four, you unlock the National Dex, where you can get all your Pokemon from previous games. From like Diamond and Pearl, Emerald, Ruby, Sapphire. You can transfer them all to this one. So like you can build your team however you want. Mm-hmm. It's the best Pokemon game, in my opinion, and it has yet to be topped.
The comprehensive Pokemon game.
So good. Amazing.
Fantastic.
I fucking love Pokemon, dude.
Number 2,
Tavin.
I know what it is.
I also know what it is.
I don't think any of these last 2 or 3 picks are really going to be all that surprising for anybody who even listens to me for 5 minutes. I'll be honest, the second one I've talked about on the podcast a lot, and I'm kind of sick of talking about it because I keep reiterating the same point because I feel like I have to fight the context in which this game came out. And the internet is not fair to this fucking game. This game is a fucking masterpiece, and I don't see how it could be seen as anything else. The Last of Us Part 2 is one of the best fucking games ever made. It hits on every fucking level, full stop. It's the best gameplay Naughty Dog has ever implemented into their games. It's incredibly, like, it dives so deep into character and motivations and themes and imagery in ways that video games I don't think have ever done. And the whole conversation around The Last of Us Part 2 being a terrible story or terrible characters or whatever else you want to throw.
The writing don't make sense.
The writing doesn't make sense. You're wrong. You're lying.
Why would a woman get all jacked up and strong in the apocalypse? I do not understand.
God, I hate that. And there's so much just blatant lies that happen around the conversation of Last of Us Part 2. Like, you just have your facts wrong.
Like, what is with PlayStation's female characters not being feminine?
Oh my God,
I
go
don't
kill
understand.
The Last of Us Part 2, first of all, mechanically evolves everything that's done in the first one to a incredible level. It's so fluid. It feels so good to play and it's damn near a survival horror game in that you're running around these environments, you're hiding in the tall grass, you're doing things that nothing's inherently unique or new or innovative, but it's just done to a level that you just got to take your hat off and applaud it. Like, what the fuck? How did you even do this on a PlayStation 4? It doesn't make sense that this game came out in the same generation as Fallout 4, or that this game came out in the same generation as Infamous Second Son. And I understand those are 2 open world games that I just pulled for, but like you could even compare this game to their last work with Uncharted 4. Like, just on the technical level, this game blows it out of the fucking water. It's better looking than any current gen, next gen. We're in that weird space where it doesn't make sense. Game that's come out yet. Granted, we're still early, but like, holy shit, this game looks good. the level of writing and what this game has to say about hate and revenge and the cycle of violence. But, if you're only pulling those themes, you're not looking deep enough. And by deep enough, I mean surface level. Like, this game has so much to say about love and forgiveness, and it has so much to say about what it is,
regret
and what it means to mourn.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're just pulling hate and revenge,
what it's like to lose somebody that's so close.
You need to go live some more life, bro, because you don't understand all of the complexities that every one of these characters are going through. And and that it literally extends to every character, or even the most, like, quote unquote shallow characters, or the ones that don't have that much agency in the plot. Like, Dina alone, I think, is an incredible character just based off of her position in the story. Sure, she is feeling this loss just as much as Ellie is. Sure, and, I'm not going to go too deep, but, some light spoilers.
I wouldn't say just as much.
Huh? She's not. No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying she doesn't go through that just as much as Ellie. Ellie is going through the worst part of her life. But for Dina to have to play that support role of, this is where, this person I care about, they're going through this traumatic event, and I have to be there for them. Yeah. And I don't understand what they're feeling.
I have to try my best to try.
I have to try my best just to be there. The fact that I'm there is hopefully enough. And then you dive deep into Ellie's journal, and you see her inner thoughts and what she's saying, and she keeps coming back to these points of her support system and what they mean to her. But like, at the same time, this just overwhelming and overbearing depression and guilt and mourning, and why she's feeling these things, and how these layers are pulled back as we progress through this game, and we start going through flashbacks. And yeah, they cheat a little bit with how the narrative is structured.
Yeah.
Because they make you feel things that actually aren't relevant to where the characters are in the story. But the payoff for it is just so incredible. And people being mad that one of your favorite characters dies, get the fuck over yourself.
Yeah.
Like, first of all, exactly what you're supposed to be feeling.
I mean, and it's also been done before.
Yeah.
And people didn't outcry nearly as hard.
Spoilers, there is nothing original about The Last of Us. Full stop. First game, second game, comic book, doesn't matter. There's nothing original about this series.
Fucking look at the first season of Game of Thrones. Like, you got
way more original in concept than anything that happens in The Last of Us. Anything, hands down. So but the level of execution is at a level to where we're not even, like, this is easily one of the best stories ever told. It doesn't matter if you've heard it 1,000 times. It's done better than all the others. And the character of Abby is just as deep, just as compelling, and to mitigate or to minimize the quality of her character with, oh, this is who you're replacing Joel with? Fuck you. No. She is not supplementive of Joel. She is not a replacement of Joel. She's not a substitute character. She is just as important, just as impactful, and just as well written, and just, if not more so than Joel ever was.
You killed her dad in the first game.
Well, spoilers, but yeah.
Well, we said this is the part where we nerd out about it. And we talk
and
about
it's just
stuff.
It's just the context and the conversation around it disgusts me, and I so wish that those leaks hadn't happened. And I so wish that this conversation could have been more organic. This game never had a chance from the moment of inception, and then the world put everything against it. And still, somehow, not only does Naughty Dog set the narrative bar with the first Last of Us, they surpass it with flying colors with the second one. I can't wait to see how the industry reacts to this second game. This is gaming's first tragedy. Like, there are tragic moments in the first one, and the first one doesn't end on a happy note.
No.
But it is not a tragedy. This game is a tragedy. It's unlike any story ever told in how it makes the player feel. There's no other genre, there's no other medium that can do this except for video games.
Yeah.
And just to see how angry and bitter and like I texted Connor the first night I played I only played the first 2 hours, 3 hours.
3 hours. I remember it was 3 hours in.
Yeah, something like that. And I texted Connor and I said, hey, this game is making me feel disgusted and uncomfortable and nauseous in a way that no other video game has made me feel. And yet it is these are not good feelings to feel under normal context, but the
fact that it was able
to make me feel it, it was exactly what I wanted from a Last of Us game. I said that to you in the first 3 hours. I'm disgusted, I'm uncomfortable, I'm nauseous, I'm angry. It's everything I wanted it to be. And from beginning to end it is. And you want to tell me this game is poorly written and you want to go through that museum scene and tell me that this game is all about hate? Fuck you. Fuck you. You don't know what it means to love.
I think a huge moment that I know from that game is, she's taking this whole journey to find Abby and, kill her to avenge Joel,
Oh, and then the dual narrative that happens in this game is so brilliantly told.
So I think it's towards the end, they're doing that final fight, and she's deciding whether or not to drown Abby.
Have you seen the entire? Have you seen all the cutscenes?
Yeah, I know the story.
Oh, okay. What a shame.
What
a shame.
So she in that fight, she's lost fingers.
Yeah. And Naughty Dog games are inherently cinematic, but they force you to play through those segments, and you don't want to play through them. You're screaming. You're screaming at the screen for these characters to stop.
Yeah.
There are two very distinct moments where you're just yelling at the screen, stop doing this. But the game doesn't progress until you, the player, does it.
Mm-hmm. But no, there's that whole thing. She's lost fingers, and she's done all this to try to avenge Joel. And in that pursuit, she's lost the ability.
She loses the last gift he gives her,
which is that song.
Oh.
And so she can no longer play the song that Joel taught her. So in trying to avenge him, she's lost one of the biggest connections that she has to his memory.
That was definitely the best moment of the game. I mean, I've said it before. The game didn't really impress me
powerful,
in many areas. It kind of fell flat for me personally. That was definitely the best moment in that entire game.
I think both Last of Us games and my number one pick, which won't be a surprise, have the best video game endings ever. With a couple of other contenders.
Well, one stupid thing is that you already lost your finger. You already fucked yourself over. Might as well just kill her at that point, right? Well, I've already screwed up so much that nothing negative is going to come from me.
I know you're being facetious, but totally missing the point. Totally missing the point. And on top of that, I'm going to just nerd out for just a few more seconds. That gameplay really is so good. So good. And to people demean it as, it's just the first game again. Yeah, but it's way fucking better. This gameplay is going to age super well. The first one, we're already seeing the cracks. Yeah. This game plays great. I would play, if there was a challenge mode, I would fucking play that challenge mode, because that shit is good.
A mercenaries mode.
Literally, I would take a mercenaries mode for Last of Us Part. It's why I'm so excited for whatever the fuck that multiplayer thing is.
Yeah, that's still coming.
Oh, man, I can't wait. With especially how much we played the factions mode in the first game. Which we didn't talk about when you brought it up. But, man, that factions mode was great, and God, I hope they make it phenomenal in this second game, if it ever comes.
All right. Connor? Your number two?
Number two.
My number two pick.
Your poopy pick.
I feel embarrassed because I was going to read this rather than off the top of my head. We are born of the blood, made men by the blood.
You fucking cornball.
Undone by the blood. Number two is Bloodborne.
Yeah.
You
were lost, weren't you?
No, I knew it. I was saying, being facetious.
Is that what it is? At one point in time, I was always debating what's better, one of the Dark Souls games or Bloodborne. And sitting on it and watching some boss fights over it again and looking at screenshots from moments in the game and just remembering the feel and the badassery of how you feel in Bloodborne makes it better than those games, but also better than many other games that I've also played. The combat is fantastic. It's fast-paced. It's aggressive. There's systems like the health
Deceptively
gain
fast-paced.
back. Deceptively fast-paced.
Like
if
you
you're
don't when playing it, you don't think it's fast.
No,
but it's fast.
Yeah, you have to go in and you have to hit things because Dark Souls obviously you can be more hesitant in going into an opponent to attack them. Look for more openings. In Bloodborne, you have to capitalize on every single small chance you get to hit an enemy.
Otherwise, you're fucked.
Otherwise, you're fucked, or you're going to drag out or you can drag out a fight
way
to the point
way
where
longer
you're
than
fucked.
it needs to be.
Yeah, exactly. And the trick weapons are just an amazing way to diversify combat because each one has their own different mode that completely changes the method of the weapon. So you're not always playing with. You don't choose the burial blade, giant like curved sword that turns into a scythe.
So the one that I've seen is that one that's like, it's like you got the handle and it's like this, and then you can like extend it.
Phil is doing a crescent moon shape around his fist.
That's the saw cleaver. Oh, it's huge.
But it's like really long.
We're getting really nitty gritty.
I don't know.
I
think that's all I've seen. That's the only weapon that I've seen.
There's 3 weapons that are kind of like that, so it could be one of those. That's why I'm having a difficulty decide them. But beyond that, the atmosphere and the level design of Bloodborne is fantastic. Victorian England, or the more fantasy version of Victorian England, has never been made better than in Bloodborne, and that's contrasted by the fact that you have a big bright moon that eventually turns red, and decrepit bodies laying out through the streets and fires going on and beastmen wandering around, all the way to castles very reminiscent of Resident Evil. The environments are way more diverse than you would otherwise might think, especially the places that some of these games take you to. But in addition to all of that, the boss fights, as I touched on in Dark Souls 3, are a fantastic part of this game. But more than that, they're the best boss fights put to games, because you have enemies like Maria of the Astral Clock Tower.
Well, just wait till we get to my number one.
What's
Carmen.
what's that?
As someone who has no idea.
It's called Vord of the Boreal Valley. Is that
that's Dark Souls 3.
That's 3. Okay.
Yeah, that's Dark Souls 3. So, but Bloodborne has Lady Maria of the Astral Clock Tower, who plays like a hunter. Which the main character you are,
yeah, that's what you are.
So she dashes around with her own weapon and her own moveset while you're trying to counter her with your own and keep up with her fast moves. You have these are all from the DLC. Ludwig, who has a
Ludwig Ogren?
Oh god damn it!
Twitch.tv/Ludwig?
I love Ludwig. I love him.
I hear
watch him all the
phenomenal
time.
things about that DLC.
Yeah, it's a fantastic DLC. It's that boss fight just turns from being extremely bestial to becoming one of the greatest bits of fan service in the entire Soulsborne universe. And then you have, things like, you have a bunch of different beasts in the game that you fight. There's multiple different bosses, but each one feels unique and all have their own different lore that's associated with it that just makes them even better. Bloodborne, absolutely fantastic. Amazing game.
The weapon I was thinking of, I don't know what it's called, but it looks like a giant straight razor.
Fuck.
So like it'll be like a giant long straight razor that you two-hand and like slam on stuff. It's got like saw teeth. It's got like teeth.
I think that's a saw cleaver.
Is it?
I think so.
And then you can fold it onto and like hold it like that, so it's like this. And it's like a fucking straight razor.
Yeah,
and
that's
then
the
when
saw
you
cleaver.
extend it, that's when it looks like a straight razor.
That's the saw cleaver.
Okay.
That is, yeah. No, that's actually one of the first weapons you get and one of the best weapons mechanically in the game.
That's the only one that I've seen.
Yeah.
Phil.
Yeah. Oh, my number 2.
Number 2.
Yes. My number 2, in keeping with the trend of my childhood, where I skipped the second game, played the first, and now the third. Spyro 3, Year of the Dragon.
Really?
My favorite game from my childhood, without a doubt. As a kid, I rented this game from Hollywood Video at least 4 times. I renewed me renting it like at least 4 times, because I played it, I think originally at I had like a babysitter that I would get dropped off when I was a kid while my parents went to work at her house, and her kid had that game, and I would just always be like, oh, I want to play Spyro, because I played the first game, and I was obsessed with dragons as a young child, and so I had a game where I could play as a dragon, dude, and then you go around and there's so basically the gist is like you get there's dragon eggs because you're a dragon, and dragons lay eggs.
Yes, of course.
That's part of like the bit. That's like the legend of dragons, and people are stealing these dragon eggs because they're magic. They want their own magic for like the thieves want magic.
Various purposes.
Exactly. So people are stealing them, and you're awoken while they're being stolen, and they all get dragged down these random holes, and none of the big dragons can fit down the holes to go chase the eggs. So Spyro's the only one that can fit through the holes to go to the other worlds to find all the eggs. So he goes through the hole and he runs throughout all these. I think it's 5. No. See, it's the first one, then it's Midday Gardens, Evening Lake, and then so it's 4 different actual like hub worlds that you go through.
He's Rudolph.
Kinda, yeah. So he goes through and he runs through, gets all the eggs. You rescue all these little baby dragons. You have your pal Hunter, who's a giant bipedal cheetah. Who's like I want to say any like fucking Insomniac's first persona.
Oh, is it a woman?
No.
Female? Oh, but it's a guy.
He's a guy.
Oh.
He's a big, hunky cheetah man.
Oh, okay. So he is sexualized.
Yeah.
That was my next question.
I mean,
well,
as sexualized as a polygonal PS1 character can be.
Yeah, that can do wonders for some people.
Because all 3 original Spyro games were released on the first PlayStation, the PlayStation 1.
Old games.
Yeah, man. I played the shit out of Year of the Dragon as a kid. You get all these little friends in each of these little worlds. There's one that's a kangaroo who has a very thick Australian accent.
Of course.
There is a penguin who's like a military general, or he's a sergeant because his name is Sergeant Bird, spelled with a Y. And he's a penguin that like flaps his arms and he can fly. He has like rocket launchers on his shoulders too. It's awesome. And then you got Bentley, who's a Yeti. He's a big old Yeti. He's got like a fucking ice hammer that he fucking... Oh, it's a bat, more like. He fucking hits stuff with a giant solid ice bat. Sick.
And you can use those guys in combat.
Yeah.
Okay.
They all have their own little world that you can go and fuck shit up and solve little puzzles and platform all around with. And then there's a monkey who's like a secret agent named Agent 9. He has a little fucking blaster gun.
Dude, as a kid, that game would have been like, my
it's
God,
so
this
sick.
is so cool.
It's so awesome. And then I don't want to spoil it because eventually Tavin's going to play this game, but it has one of the most cathartic moments in any like game I've ever played. Like there's somebody that's like a total piece of shit throughout I think the second and third games. And there's something so cathartic that happens to him in the end of the third game, and it's so fucking satisfying. And I frankly cannot wait for Tavin to play all of the Spyro games, which he will.
Fantastic.
And it's just I love Spyro 3 the most.
All right, fantastic.
I can't seem to think what Tavin's number 1 pick is going to be.
I have no idea.
All right, number 1. No surprise to anybody who's listened to any piece of these content of our content, especially recent after the hypes. But yeah, my number 1 is Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater.
Hey, that was on my list.
Yeah, it was. I'm very happy that it was on your list, Phil. So Snake Eater represents a lot of different things to me. It's the first M-rated game I ever played as a child. It's
when your parents bought it for you, did they know that it was M-rated?
Yeah, my mom did.
Oh, okay.
And then it's the first time that I took notice of narrative in video games and characters in video games, And bam, what a game to be your first one to be like, oh hey man, the story in this is actually pretty dope.
You had never played a single Metal Gear before that?
No, it was my first Metal Gear Solid.
Good one to jump in on.
No kidding, right? Yeah. It's the one that one makes a lot of sense, but it makes a good amount of sense, like just from like narrative beat to narrative beat.
It's the first one chronologically, so.
It is the first one chronologically. But just a game that is so unabashedly unafraid to say, hey, here's some mechanics, do some funky shit with it. Like, see what happens. And you know what? Whatever you think of, we probably thought of it too. And yeah, it's a valid thing you can do. You wanna just be super stealth and, get in and out without alerting a guard or messing with their patrols at all, just sneaking around them like they never even knew you were there. There was zero evidence. Yeah, you can do that. You want to go in guns blazing, kill everyone in sight? Yeah, you can do that. You want to capture a snake in the beginning of the game, capture it alive, name it Freddy, go to the end of the game, and then throw it at a guard in your way to where it poisons and kills him? Yeah, you can do that. And it's incredibly valid, and it's a valid tactic that you can use. And, the amount of tools in your arsenal are so varied and wide that it's incredible. You want to blow up a food storage supply, come back to that area later when all the guards are hungry because you blew up their food, and then feed them poison frogs, and they're so hungry that they don't know what they're doing and they kill themselves? Yeah, you can do that. You want to blow up a helicopter that's in hour 3 of the game, and then in hour 6 or 7 enter an area where that helicopter would have been? Yeah, you can do that.
Tavin, why are the frogs poisoned? Could it be because they're putting chemicals in the water?
Okay.
But that would do something else, wouldn't it?
that does something else. That's not poison. That's not right. And not to mention, it's one of the best stealth games ever made. It mechanically mostly still holds up.
It's a very, very good game.
And even though it's got some faults in its overall design that were true when it launched, yeah, you dig through menus a lot to activate camo. But let's be honest, you're not switching your camo every 45 seconds. You're switching between 4 to 5 different camos, depending on what environment you're on. And then, maybe for 5 seconds, you'll use the squares camo where you're red squares. But, other than that, your tree bark, your leaf, your desert, your splitter, your water, you're one of those 4 or 5. And that's about it. And then not to mention, Connor brought up great boss fights in Bloodborne, and I'm sure that's true. I've never played Bloodborne, so I'm just being tongue-in-cheek. But, except for maybe the first game, this is the best offering of boss fights in the series.
The pain.
The pain, the fear, the end, the boss herself, even the ones that are less mentionable, like Volgan or Ocelot, those are still really dope boss fights.
The
Sorrow, incredibly dope encounter, incredibly creative, that totally flips the entire game on its head. And the Sorrow alone delivers on every theme that The Last of Us Part 2 delivered on in about 15 minutes and with so much less effort. Such an incredible moment that blew my mind as a kid. And it did it back in 2004 when stories didn't matter in video games.
Hideo Kojima, man.
Kojima completely ahead of his time. So far ahead of his time. So much so that even now when he's well past his peak, he's still putting out prolific games that...
Yeah, like Death Stranding.
We joke and you joke, Phil, but Death Stranding is crazy, bro.
Crazy bad.
No, it's okay. Anyways, no, but and then just the story of the boss and the characters, and you touched on it, Phil, and you were talking about her true motivations and all that. Dude, I can't, I full on believe Snake Eater has the best ending in any video game ever.
It's fucking crazy. It's fucking really good.
I cannot imagine, I can't think of another game that pulls the rug out from under you and leaves you so awestruck and heartbroken and devastated in any other way. Like in a couple of sentences, the ending of that game recontextualizes the entire experience, and you just have to sit back and go, fuck.
I didn't watch the VOD of us playing like the end.
Oh my god,
that,
dude.
of that game. Not the end, the boss fight, but the end of the game.
Your jaw was open for
I was
like
gonna say, I
10
guarantee
minutes.
you my mouth was open the entire time, like some kind of moron.
Oh my god, it's so good, and the fact that I think it holds up the best out of any of the games.
Oh, for sure.
2 holds up pretty well mechanically as well, but
Yeah.
it's a little more simple.
It's a little janky sometimes, but you know.
Yeah. I can't say enough. Like, I don't think there's and this is where my nostalgic bias comes in. I don't think there's a fucking thing wrong with this game. Well, the Fury sucks. Never mind. I take that back. I hate the Fury.
Very true.
Very bad boss fight.
We both talked about it whenever it was on my list, and now whenever it was on the top of yours. But the sheer amount of like diverse ways you can play, it also even stretches to the boss fights themselves.
In 2004.
Yeah, like I mean,
Just the ways you can handle the end.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can defeat the end hours before you encounter him.
yeah.
There are so many different tactics and strategies you can use with each individual boss fight, and yeah, some are definitely stronger than others. It's not as there are some tactics that are definitely not nearly as valid. How you've handled the end in your playthrough is fucking sacrilegious. It's the most blasphemous thing I've ever seen.
Oh, I just fucking ran up to him and
Connor, well, hold on.
Oh,
Connor,
yeah.
legendary sniper, all right? Your boss fight. This guy's being built up. They take their time to really explain this guy, man. He's dangerous. He's going to show you what's up. This is going to be a long, drawn-out fight. It's going to take place over 3 different areas where every other boss fight takes place in one arena. Not an area, an arena. And they're saying, hey, man, you be ready. Be ready. How do you think you handled this boss fight?
I snipe him in the grass.
Okay, Phil here used a fucking shotgun and an AK.
I did.
I mean, when you're a dumb bitch like the Andy thinks that snipers do everything he wants, kind of good idea just to blast at him with an AK.
Dude,
He's an old man. He can't dodge.
I mean, granted, I was like,
Yeah.
I used the thermal vision to look at his footprints, and I snuck up behind him. I fucking shot him with a shotgun and an AK. It worked great.
Sorry, Tavin. Sorry that you were cucked.
Granted, I was
Great.
like 12 or 13 at the time when I first played this game, so like,
I thought I was gonna be there for like an hour. It took me like
I thought it was gonna take an
It took me
hour.
like less than 15 minutes.
It took me 3 days in my first playthrough. Granted, I was an idiot.
You were a kid.
I was a kid, but it took me 3 days. I'm like, okay, an hour. That seems reasonable. It took him 20 minutes.
less than 15 minutes. It's fucking nuts.
It was blasphemous. It's the most unsatisfying way you could handle that fight.
And then he wanted me to kill his bird for some reason.
You can
It's
kill
like
the bird.
lame. I didn't want to kill the bird.
You can kill the
Can't
bird.
kill the bird.
What do you mean you can't?
Can't kill it.
I mean, you
Can't
can.
morally.
Morally, yeah.
It's fucked up. You can eat it too.
Well, if you're gonna kill it, that's not that bad. Killing is the only bad part. After that point,
Well, you can eat it in front of him.
Got to use
Does
every
he say
part of the
anything?
buffalo.
I don't think so.
He gets mad.
He does get mad. He gets real mad.
Oh, he does.
Oh, so mad. He gets so mad. Anyways, Snake Eater, phenomenal game. Such a great game. Such a great story. Phenomenal themes. Phenomenal characters. Phenomenal gameplay. One of the most dynamic games you could ever play.
I love the boss final fight too.
Yeah.
Yes, that's great. That's
yeah.
the best boss fight in the game, I think.
I think it's my favorite.
Yeah.
Toe and toe for me. Yeah, but like, also for a franchise that's so convoluted and confusing, Snake Eater stands alone pretty damn well. Like, you don't need that much context from the other games.
You don't.
I mean, I feel like it can be its own narrative. Yeah.
Yeah, it really could. So, I mean, I played it and then went and played 2, expecting it to be the game that came before 3, not realizing that we jumped back into the past because I was a dumb kid. And fuck, man, like the first 15 minutes into 2, you're like, what the fuck is happening?
I was gonna say, if anything, I feel like you'd have to jump from 3 to 1, and even then it would still be pretty jarring.
Yeah. Anyways, Connor, number 1.
Well, let's not go with any fanfare right now. It's Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Yeah, baby.
I
Connor, does this game get
fucking
worse
love that game.
Oh, you bitch. Anyways, Does part 1 become lesser if part 2, 3, 5, whatever, however many don't deliver?
No, because now I won't lie. One of the reasons why this is number 1 is because as of right now, the anticipation and the thoughts racing through my mind on what they're going to do in the future make me so excited for what comes next. And a game that could set something like that up so well means I can't. And whenever I think of top 1 now, I can't think of anything else except Final Fantasy VII Remake being put on that game. In addition to everything else that I love about the game. It's only the first part of Final Fantasy VII, which was the biggest reason why I was hesitant on putting it number 1, because it's only part of a remake of a whole game. But the part that it does do is so much better designed than the first game. It's more in-depth, and there's more characterization given to all of the characters, which will be really important going forward. People like Tifa, people like Barrett. I won't lie, giving them an actual voice and being able to have them have expressions on their face is a big reason for that, which, if you're going to compare it to the original Final Fantasy, that's going to be a kind of hard thing to do, because, it's 2 different eras of video game, and the storytelling is on a different level at that point. But, going beyond that, the gameplay, the shift to a more proactive combat system rather than an active time battle system, really worked out in its favor, because you're able to do crazy ass moves, similar, kind of in the same vein in my mind as Devil May Cry, and doing things that look cool, but also toning it down to be more strategic, stopping and planning out every single move that you're going to make, what spell is your ally going to make, where you have to go to actually, make that the most effective spell, because some, AoE effects really, limited how you can use it, particularly with Aerith. But the story of Final Fantasy VII Remake, going back to the anticipation that it's given me for the games going forward, have... it's kind of hard to put into words now that I think about it, but
I mean the sure just like boldness of it.
It's pretty ballsy
to take these jumps for such a beloved story with such beloved characters that they're taking. Boy, it better pay off. Y'all better have a fucking plan.
Yes.
Because if y'all don't have a plan, we're in trouble here, and all of this is for nothing.
Yep.
This is a grand experiment in which storytelling hasn't seen before.
It could go wrong. I don't begrudge anybody that didn't like the change, because it is, change is big and it can be bad.
Yeah.
Especially in this context.
Mm-hmm.
I think I played like 4 hours of the original, but I know the story.
Yeah.
Of the remake, I played, I think, 2 hours.
But if you go deep into like the nitty-gritty lore and story, this is not a remake. This is very much a sequel.
Yeah, which I love, because they're actually giving things more depth. Whereas something like Wutai, a country, is just given an area, an optional area in the game, and an optional party member is now becoming important. Like, you have to have that for the story to be the way it is. It's becoming a lot more grander, and all of that is enhanced.
Is that the...
Sorry, what?
Yes.
Yuffie?
Yes.
Yeah, Yuffie. Yeah, and all of that's enhanced by the fact that the music's even better.
Yep.
It's revamped. It's things like kind of a spoiler. One Winged Angel. The rendition of that is absolutely amazing.
Mm-hmm.
The main boss battle theme and the main battle theme is great and new, and I absolutely just love watching these characters that I already liked in the original game be, once again, due to voice acting and facial expressions, be more closer in my heart as characters that I like to spend time with. And it's just comprehensively an amazing game.
No, you're right.
Very nice.
Every action RPG game should take notes.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I mean, I enjoyed what I've played.
It hits on every level.
Are you planning on playing it anymore?
Probably.
Funny enough, play that game on hard mode. Plays a lot more like a turn-based RPG.
Yeah, you're telling me. Yeah, I haven't had that chance yet with the Intergrade coming out.
Yeah, you got to do it with Intergrade. I've put my playthrough on pause just so I could do it with Intergrade.
Yeah.
So, Final Fantasy VII Remake is a phenomenal game.
Mm-hmm.
If only it looked a little better.
You don't like the textures. They're not the best, but the character models and
look
the
great.
enemy designs, the graphics on them are good.
But when I can see the literal stretch of textures on your environment, then you could have used a little more time in the oven, bro. But that's fine. Well, that game took so long to make anyway. Phil.
Oh my god, it took so long.
So long. Phil, number 1.
Oh man.
Finish us out, buddy.
You already know.
Yeah, we do.
I don't know. I mean, I've said it before to Connor.
Stupid. Of course I know. I was like, what could it be?
I mean, it's kind of in the vein of Final Fantasy a little bit. You know, it's
More
Kingdom
so than you
Hearts
might
2.
think. It's got the two.
Kingdom Hearts 2, baby.
Kingdom Hearts 2. It is. It's so special to me. I don't know what it is about it. It's my feel good game. It's what I go to whenever I want to just kill time and have fun and just fucking wreck shit. It's so much of an improvement on the first game, in terms of like overall combat. There's way more content.
Better content even.
Way better.
Yeah.
They improved the gummy ship.
In comparison to the first one.
Oh yeah, talking about the first one. They revamped the magic system, and I like it a lot better. I think that the only reason Tavin doesn't like the new magic, he likes the Kingdom Hearts 1 magic more.
I just don't think it's as useful as it was in the first game.
I'm just saying.
You played the second one?
Yeah, on hype.
Yeah, I thought he did.
It's a good game.
I thought you said you're gonna watch that one.
I should have.
Yeah, he doesn't watch any of our shit.
I watch streams in general. In my defense.
Well, no, you don't even support the YouTube channel, Connor.
What a fake fan.
Fake fan.
Dude, I'm a fake fan.
Yeah, you got me. But no, I dig because they add so many new mechanics. They add dry forms, which are amazing. They add like a new.
You can hold 2 swords.
Dude. The hype that I had as a kid playing that game, I was like 13, 14. Going from only having 1 to having 2 and being able to be fucking dual wielding was always the coolest thing to me as a kid of anything. Cool. Like, it's just cool. I have 2 hands, now I have 2 swords. Just fucking wrecking shit, just throwing people all over the place, blasting people with fire, striking them with lightning. Throwing up in the air, jumping up and smacking them around in the air. Just so fucking satisfying.
Very crazy gameplay.
They add reaction commands in Kingdom Hearts 2, so like everything you do is flashier. Everything is way more satisfying. The bosses, I think, are way better. Sephiroth is really fun, and I think he's less of a fucking equation you have to figure out than he is in 1. In 1, you literally just have he has a set pattern, and that's what he's gonna do. In 2, he has a pattern, but he varies it, and you kind of have to like adapt to each move as it comes out, rather than he's doing Descend Heartless Angel. I gotta dodge to the left, step forward twice, and hit him. Like with this one, there's way more movement options. You got double jump, which is technically like a aerial dodge. You have dodge roll from the first game. You have slide dash. You have high jump. You have glide, which is amazing. Fucking final form is awesome because your glide does damage. Because when you do final form, your keyblades are floating around, and when you do glide, the 2 keyblades go in front of you, and they start spinning like a bunch of fucking like a blender. So like everything that goes in front of you, it's getting blending up by the keyblades.
Very optimal move.
It's so fucking cool. Obviously, Goofy and Donald are. Sure, they can sometimes take you out of the action because Disney characters. There's some dissonance there. With the Disney characters and like the combat and all that, but I don't know. There's something about Kingdom Hearts to me is like my feel good series, and I've stuck with it too long to stop.
Nostalgia plus game design, good game design, just kind of fits together nicely. Obviously, Metal Gear Solid 3 is the same exact way.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, I mean they're equivalent. Metal Gear Solid 3 and Kingdom Hearts 2, they're perfectly equivalent.
Oh, you didn't like me comparing them, did you?
Right, Tavin?
Both of you.
You don't like me comparing them?
No.
In any capacity whatsoever?
No.
Not in terms of
you like Kingdom Hearts 2.
I like Kingdom Hearts 2, but it's nowhere near any of the other character action games I've ever played.
Yeah, but narratively it's similar.
No.
No. This is purely on an emotional level. of value you place on a game.
I will
Take
say-
emotion
I
out
will
of it.
say-
So, objectively,
Ah,
it is
Fucking,
comparable.
I don't even want to give you your credit anymore.
You know
Never
what?
mind.
I will. As a person who has put Final Fantasy VII Remake as his number 1, I will say that it is comparable to both Metal Gear Solid 3 and Kingdom Hearts 2.
You're fucking insane.
No, I was being
Actually,
jokey.
7 Remake is comparable to Kingdom Hearts, but
Oh,
mechanically, if you think about it.
it is.
I was being facetious and shitty.
I mean, 7
about
Remake kicks the
it
shit
being
out of it,
comparable.
but
Okay, that's just rude.
God damn.
no, Kingdom Hearts 2 is a fun game.
Kingdom Hearts 2, very much fun. It's my feel-good game.
It's a fun game. It's a solid game. After our first hype session with it, because that one took us 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, after our first hype session with it, I remember saying to you off camera, I'm like, man, this is like a great like after work crack open a beer game, like
Yeah,
where
man.
you're just chilling, you're not really thinking,
Fucking slicing up dudes.
and you're just kicking some ass real quick. And I'll say that game really knows how to create moments.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there are moments in that game.
The fucking final boss.
The
like,
final
end?
boss, the battle against the the battle against
the Thousand
the
Heartless.
Thousand Heartless.
Yeah, that was cool as shit.
Those are great fucking moments. That like, I mean, just because even though the narrative context around it is some bullshit, but like just the moments themselves and how they're crafted, those are great moments. On top of the gameplay, truly is a lot of fun.
Would you say your favorite moment is the bit where Xemnas has all the like the energy bolts around Riku and Sora, and you have to keep mashing
That's cool.
That was a cool moment.
That was cool.
That was a cool
mashing
moment.
the reaction button and the attack button to deflect them all?
No, I liked that moment. It's a cutscene. It's not a gameplay thing. But when they like come at each other and then like they pass the keyblade to each other and they do a quick little like cool little spin and then cartwheel shit. That shit was dope. Anyways, yeah, Kingdom Hearts game or Kingdom Hearts 2, solid game, solid choice. Everybody had some solid choices.
Always been my favorite.
All
some
good
of us-
lists. All good lists.
all
The
good-
way
well-
around.
From the start, I knew Tavin was going to hate my list. I knew it.
I don't hate any of your lists. That's your list. Why would I hate them?
He did. He said it was not objective.
Anyways, that is going to be it for the 2 Penny Gamescast top 10 games of all time. Please stick around if you're listening to the full
a
episode
long
because we're
one.
going to do after the hype Mass Effect 1. We're going to do a full spoiler
yeah.
cast. It's going to be a good time. Very exciting. And you know what? We're going to go ahead and because it's a segment show, we're going to re-intro it. So please just stick with us real quick as we continue. Say hello to the people, Phil.
Hello!
And welcome back to After the Hype, our review show that we do for games that we play on Hype. Have you ever played over at twitch.tv/2pennygames every Tuesday, 1 p.m. Central Time. I am your host, Tavin Bothel, here with my good friend and co-host here, Phil Shoemaker.
That's me!
Phil, have you ever played Mass Effect?
Well, I had not up until
now. So, with the release of the Mass Effect Legendary Edition, I've been playing Mass Effect heavily. I had you play it on Hype. We will be continuing our series eventually, dive into Mass Effect 2 and 3.
Yes.
But for right now, you just finished the first game, and this is going to act as our review / little spoiler cast to talk about it and
Should
capitalize on the moment of Mass Effect.
Should we address the elephant in the room?
So,
Or
if-
rather not in the room.
If you are a listener of the 2 Penny Gamescast, in which this show is attached to, that goes up on youtube.com/2pennygamescast every Monday at 8 a.m.
Yes.
on your favorite podcast services, you would have heard that our good friend Connor Elliott, friend of the show, co-host of the 2 Penny Gamescast, was supposed to be on this After the Hype
But tragically,
spoilercast.
he is now deceased. To us.
So there were some scheduling difficulties. We were recording on a day we don't usually record, and then the episode we were recording went hella long, so he had to leave. Piece of
this earth.
shit little bitch.
He had to leave this earth.
Fucking burn in hell.
Jesus.
Cockroach of a human.
Fuck. But no, unfortunately, Connor had to go.
Little bitch.
Yeah.
Anyways. Ladies and gentlemen,
Mass Effect is fun.
Mass Effect is fucking fun, dude. So, Phil, this is your first time. You just said you had some fun. What are your overall impressions of Mass Effect 1?
Well, out of all the games that you've shown me on our wonderful show that we do, I think this is the first one that I would actually go back and replay.
Really?
Yeah.
Fantastic. That's great to hear. You're not a big replay guy for Contact.
Not really. I just think that I would probably go back and try like a different class. For
Some different classes, different dialogue options, different choices.
Would that if I did go? Sorry, I almost talked out of the mic there. Would that really change how I would play into the second and third game if I went and tried to start a new one right now?
No.
When
you
lets
load,
me choose.
when you load up a game, it gives you a select your career mode. So
okay.
When I leave, you can
okay.
plug away at a new character right now.
Cool.
That'd be a little weird. I would recommend you wait until we get back to Phil Shepard,
Okay.
just to keep that continuity straight. But
Okay, that's fair enough.
yeah. So yeah, I'm a huge fan of Mass Effect. I've played the entire trilogy dozens of times, hundreds of hours. I've platinumed the original 3 games on PS3. I'm working my way through the trilogy now on PS5/4. And what else happened? Oh, I got all the achievements in Mass Effect 3 on Xbox 360 because I first originally played the game on 360.
Look at you.
Dozens upon dozens upon dozens of hours into the Mass Effect 3 multiplayer. Many hours into Mass Effect Andromeda, more than I'd like to admit.
Are there multiplayer achievements in 3?
Yeah, for the original game.
That's so lame. I hate that.
Yeah, it's not great.
Multiplayer achievements suck.
Granted, you can get them without playing the multiplayer though. I don't know if it's still active, but there was an app or a website you could go to, and if you just came in on you would go in, you'd click a thing, and then it'd be like, all right, come back in 3 hours.
Oh,
and
okay.
you come back in 3 hours and plug away at it that way.
Oh.
That's how I got the trophy on PS3 because I was like, I don't want to play the multiplayer.
Fuck this.
Yeah. So Mass Effect 1, actually my favorite of the trilogy. Not
very
not
a
the
great time.
not the fan favorite, but I enjoy it for its world building and atmosphere, and even with the Legendary Edition, I actually really enjoy the gameplay of it.
We've said it a few times, but it took me a second to get gripped by it. But once I did, I was in.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'd say it was probably late Pharos or maybe somewhere around Novaria.
It was right before the Thorian fight.
Yeah, that's
on that world.
So
is when
late Pharos is where it started clicking with you, which I'm so glad it did. So Phil, let's go ahead and jump into it. So this being the first, no, I guess it was kind of true for Kingdom Hearts, but this was the first time where they were playing a version of the game that was so drastically different from the original. This will become less true as we continue with the trilogy.
Sure.
But the first one needed the most work, especially mechanically. So things like the shooting is tighter. They've removed weapon restrictions on classes. The Mako, they've increased the gravity on and tweaked how the shooting in the Mako works to make it more accurate and make it feel like you're actually doing what you're trying to do as opposed to just
Still
some
not the biggest fan of
piece
the
of
Mako.
styrofoam. Yeah, and that's fair. I don't think they've done a whole lot to the Mako, but they've done enough.
I think they just made
I
it
think.
tolerable.
That's probably fair. I'm a Mako apologist, even in the original game. So yeah, mechanically, this is the deepest RPG of the 3. How did you not a huge RPG guy? How did you, outside of some Pokemon games and a few other Skyrim?
I wouldn't say I'm not a big RPG guy. I like RPGs.
You like RPGs? Okay.
I just hadn't played Mass Effect before.
Okay, fair. How did you feel about our mechanics of this game? Let's start with the shooting.
I think that once I got the equipment that I liked, I felt great about it.
Okay.
There was a few bits in the beginning that I was getting very frustrated because I'm not used to a shooter that doesn't have a reload.
Overheat system.
So I was like, oh man, this is kind of it's gonna take some getting used to.
Sure.
Which I did.
Yeah.
Especially since fucking Infiltrator, for pistols and snipers, it stops you from overheating as fast. And once I got all that, plus my proficiency with both those weapons up, and got heat sinks for them. Like I was never overheating. Like
Lovely.
unless I got
Yeah, that's true.
Was it dampened or
Sabotaged.
Sabotaged. Okay. Yeah, I thought it was very satisfying. There was a few moments from like our streams where like I would just like really quickly snap to somebody and just fucking shoot them once and they'd just go down immediately. And I was like, dude, that was so fucking satisfying. Like there was a bit in Garrus' side mission where like, you know, you choose whether or not to
To be fair, that NPC is very weak.
Well, I'm just saying. It's just very satisfying is all I'm saying.
Yeah, it is.
So I thought it was going to be like a cutscene where Garrus just shoots him. But no, he runs away, and as he ran away, I just fucking aimed at him and domed him.
Which is strange because in most instances you say, "Hey, character, it's time for you to die," and then in cutscene they get shot. It even happened in our playthrough when, for example, we took Rex to the mob boss Fist. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's him. And Rex shot him in a cutscene. So I don't know if that's just like some weird like game design thing, or they didn't program it in and they just like made him an enemy to save time or something. I don't know. But yeah, I for the most part agree with you. I mean, the shooting is a little floaty. It's been tightened up and feels a lot better than it used to. And especially with the freedom of weapon class restrictions being gone.
There's no more. There's no more like restrictions.
Like literally, like I mean, you didn't use them a whole lot because you found proficiency in pistols and snipers, like your class gives you.
Sure, I
so you didn't use your shotgun as much. You didn't really use your assault rifle that much. But like, if you tried to and you didn't have proficiency in that weapon, like the reticle would be as big as the screen. You're not hitting jack shit.
That's how it was in the first game, anyway.
Yeah, like you're just not hitting shit. And
so it wasn't
I think
that
if
it
you're,
wouldn't let you use them. It would be really shitty.
Oh yeah, you could equip them, and it would just you're wasting your time. You're gonna
the way
die.
that you and Connor would talk about it would make me think that it was like, oh, you just can't use those.
Like I think, I'm pretty sure in the original at least, if you weren't proficient in sniper rifles, you couldn't aim down scope.
Damn.
Yeah. Because I don't think you can aim down sight at any
like
weapon.
Hold it like this. And
yeah, you're
like,
basically blind.
If only there was a way for me to look through a scope and see something. There's only a way for me to fucking move my head towards the fucking scope.
Yeah. So yeah, first Mass Effect game, not much of a third-person shooter, I would say. Still, even though it has like the elements and the aesthetics of a third-person cover-based shooter, I still look at it and see it as more of a like an active turn-based RPG.
I don't know about that.
Just a little more active, because
it was way third-person shooter for me.
Well, yeah. But if you like really dive deep into like ability usages and stuff, so you spend a lot of time holding down that right bumper and just like looking around and taking surveillance of your surroundings and how the enemies are positioning themselves and what powers they're about to use and et cetera, et cetera. Coming off of Knights of the Old Republic, which is the game BioWare made before Mass Effect, it makes sense how all of these elements work together. And honestly, it plays more like a shooter now than it used to, with the tightened shooting. Like, before, the shooting really felt like more like rolling dice. Then, well, like in the sense, like, it was like way more floaty, and like you didn't have a lot of control of where your shot hit. So like in this version, you can land a headshot every time that you have the skill for it.
When you say rolling dice, it reminds me of like, you know how in like Fallout they have like VATS and it has like a percentage.
So it's kind of like that. So I say rolling dice is like an archaic RPG like turn-based type thing. What the game is doing is that it's stat checking every time you fire your weapon.
Okay.
So it says what percentage is his accuracy at, what percentage is his damage at, and with that specific weapon, et cetera, et cetera. And it's taking all of that math into account and putting your shot where it thinks that shot should land.
Gotcha.
So even though like I'm aiming at the head, it might aim below his head.
Okay.
Still within the reticle, because the reticle does a good job of like showing you, but like the reticle spread will happen a lot. The bloom will happen a lot. It'll be a lot crazier.
Not a big fan of reticle bloom in games.
Yeah. So like, and all of these things were way more extreme in the original than they are in this version. And to be clear, I think this version blows the original out of the water.
I don't remember if in Halo Reach, I remember it being like a big deal. Reticle bloom anyway. I don't remember if there's a setting to turn it off. I don't remember.
I couldn't tell you. Yeah, so shooting, I think mechanically the game comes together when you start implementing all of the RPG mechanics behind it. You start planning out your where you're putting your skill points in your trees. You start building up your arsenal of abilities and your squad mates' abilities, and you start learning how to use them all together, and you start finding like different tactics and so forth to implement them in combat. And you can actually get pretty creative with some of it. Though you can quickly fall into the habit of using 3 abilities. You did a lot of sabotage, overload.
I would basically do like sabotage, overload. I would do like what's it called? The one that does damage over time. Warp. I would do warp. I would do throw. Stasis sometimes. Like if there was a guy charging at me and I kind of wanted to make some space.
You needed a second to reorient yourself. Yeah. Yep. All good stuff. And because of all these like crazy RPG elements, it's another reason why I like this game the most. As we continue, it's going to be more. Well, that's not true. 2 takes a hard left turn.
You said it plays way more like a third person.
Way more like a third person shooter. For example, like the number of abilities you have, way lessened. Mm-hmm. All abilities are synced to the same cooldown. So if I use Biotic Throw, I gotta wait. Granted, cooldown way smaller. Depending on what ability you're using.
Yeah. Is there still adrenaline burst so you can like refresh abilities? No.
Maybe for soldier.
Oh, okay.
Couldn't tell you. But they also diversify the classes a lot better or a lot more in the sequels. So like, I'm playing a Sentinel right now in my playthrough of Mass Effect 2.
What class is Garrus?
Couldn't tell you. So snipers and tech abilities. So he's a mix between.
He did sniper, assault
rifle. So he's a mix between like assault. Usually for the aliens, they give a custom class.
Oh, okay. Then it was Turian agent.
Yeah, Turian agent.
And then Rex was like
Krogan Battlemaster or some shit.
Yeah, something like that.
Which were your 2 like main? Those are your boys.
Those are my boys.
Yeah. So yeah, overall, I think the gameplay in the first game is okay to solid, especially in Legendary Edition. Though I think it elevates to pretty good. Works.
I think I'm trying to think what my favorite like planet was. Like my favorite mission.
Let's go ahead and dive into some of that and start getting into some cool spoilery stuff. So,
yeah.
How do we want to start? We want to start with some favorite characters. How we feel about our characters here. A smaller cast than the smallest cast in the series, which makes sense. Yep. You just start building on that from there. We got our 2 humans, Ashley and Caden.
Both pretty boring.
Yeah, pretty boring.
Ashley's
racist and has boobs. That's about the best part about her. Caden, hopeless romantic.
I didn't get any of that.
Tortured Pat. Well, you get it if he's with a female shepherd.
He plays a female.
Yeah, and he starts flirting with you a little bit. Starts talking about long walks on the beach and shit. And you're like, shut the fuck up, dude.
Does he like pina coladas and getting caught in the rain?
Yeah, so meh characters with those.
Those are boring.
I think we really start diving in.
Tali was pretty boring.
You didn't like Tali, which is fair. In this game, she's more of just an exposition dump to get the context with Geth and Corey and all of that, which is a super interesting conflict if you dive in deep and like look at all the lore and stuff, and then how they build on that later, which we won't get into.
And the Geth rebelled.
Yeah. Well, after being threatened with extinction.
Yeah.
So yeah, Tali more of just context for the Quarian race, which the other aliens do that as well, but they just have a little more character to them.
I was gonna say they're actual characters. And they're interesting.
So between Rex, Garrus, and Liara, you were pretty well set with those 3.
Those 3 were my people.
Yeah, I still like Tali in the first game, even though I do recognize she's not as fun. But yeah, Garrus like. C-Sec security, fed up with all the red tape he's got to do. He's trying to get the job done.
I think he was probably... I don't know if he's I think when I think badass, I'd probably say Garrus.
Really?
Yeah, as much as I love Rex, Rex is like also a big badass.
Yeah.
But more like fuck you. He's like a fuck you badass. Garrus is like a logical badass.
Yeah, he's a we'll get this job done badass. Yeah.
Rex is like, fuck you. I'm gonna come at you and shove my fist up your ass. That's Rex.
I think my favorite moment is when we're talking to what's his name on Novaria, Lorik Keen. And they're talking about the higher ups or whatever, and Rex has a great fucking line if he's in your party where he says, if
it's not useful, just eat them or something like that.
Yeah, he's got something along the lines of they're all fools, and if you can't see it, you're a fool. You should eat them. Oh man, that's great. I love both those characters. Liara and Asari, monogendered species, blue.
All bitches.
All sexy blue bitches. No, but Liara's great. Little reserved, shy character.
Yep.
Little charming, little smart. You know, we're into it. Your romance option this time through.
Yep. So easy decision.
Easy decision. I also, with this playthrough, I also romanced Liara. I made that same choice. Just got down and dirty with the blue. You know, bumping blue uglies. You know what I'm saying?
Well, your uglies aren't blue until afterward.
That's disgusting. Anyways, yeah, I like Liara.
What if all the Asari are just like they have blue body paint on and it just rubs off?
It's like a cheap porno.
Yeah.
Liara, one of my favorite Mass Effect characters. Also, like Tali, this is the least interesting entry for her in the series.
Yeah?
She gets way better as she goes on. So it's good that you like her.
I assume she gets like way more comfortable like around everybody.
Well, we'll just have to play and find out.
Because like I feel like that's only logical. Because sure, when you first meet like a group of people, you can be kind of reserved and shy depending on like your personality. I mean, at least that's me. When I first like enter a group, I'm kind of more held back. But once like I've been around, I'm like, who wants to see my dick? Woo! Or like just fucking around. No, I get way more comfortable and I just come out of my shell, and I feel like that's probably what's going to happen with Liara.
Well, we gonna find out now, aren't we?
I can't wait until Liara curses.
So Mass Effect is known for being like this RPG series or whatever, but it's also known for dialogue and making dialogue choices and making heavy
Paragon or Renegade.
Paragon and Renegade, all that, but making heavy story choices that will affect games later on. It's not the only game to do it, but it's the game that does it the best and most meaningfully, even when compared to other BioWare games like Dragon Age. I think Dragon Age makes you go to a website and then you like click check boxes and then it sends it to your profile or whatever. But you play as a different character every Dragon Age game, whereas this one, you are Commander Shepard and you are taking control of Shepard's story.
Yeah.
How did you feel about your ability to craft the character of Shepard?
I felt pretty good. I tried to be consistent. Because I kind of just played it. I mean, that's kind of what your first playthrough of any RPG is. You kind of just turn him into what you would do in that situation.
Yeah.
Rather than like, oh, I want to be an asshole or I want to be just a nice guy, hero. It's more just you. And I tried to keep that consistent. The only things that I kind of had a gripe with was a lot of times the like preview dialogue for like a dialogue option you pick is like it's worded differently from how it actually comes out.
Yeah. And
like
sometimes it's worded exactly the same.
I made a joke on stream where it was like the dialogue option would say like, I'm hungry. Or it's like, give me some fucking food would be like what he actually says. Or something like that.
Yeah. So, yeah, it can definitely be that dramatic sometimes. There are even times where the dialogue options are all paraphrased of what Shepard would say.
Yeah.
But there are times where, like, they just change it, and the quote-unquote paraphrased dialogue option that you read and see is sometimes even longer than the dialogue that Shepard says. To which point you go, well, why? So
why didn't you switch these?
yeah. So mostly it's just sort of like a tone setter. And then even then you just fall into Paragon. You're gonna be nice. Renegade. You're gonna be a dick. And then in the middle it's just kind of neutral.
You mentioned that it's kind of tough not to get Paragon points.
Yeah, the game favors you. The game favors being a Paragon. Which, like, as much as the devs are like, oh man, you can really choose whatever you want, and we put a lot of work into the Renegade options, which they did. There's a lot of great Renegade options throughout the
like punching a
series,
reporter.
like punching a reporter. The game hands you Paragon points for like everything. Walk through a door, get some Paragon points. Complete a neutral action, get some Paragon points. Like, if the game wants to award you dialogue points to unlock more dialogue options, they do it in the form of Paragon.
Yeah.
As opposed to giving it to you both ways or something.
Yeah, and the more Renegade / Paragon points you get, the more you're able to unlock. The more you're able to upgrade your Charm and your Intimidate, which gives more options to earn more Paragon or Renegade points. You know,
or gives you the options to talk your way out of situations in scenarios where talking is no longer an option. Yeah. Shepard's just that's slick, man. You can just be like, wait. But what about this? And then they go, oh, you're right. Let me change my whole life.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's go ahead. Let's jump into
big decisions.
Some big decisions, some favorite moments, some key story elements, some side questing maybe. We didn't do a whole lot of side quests.
No, not really.
In our experience, I imagine that will change on a replay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. Yeah. I think on a replay I would go for like 100%.
Yeah. That speaking on something we haven't touched on yet, which we should have talked about in gameplay. A lot of the side content feels pretty rushed in this first game. The Uncharted worlds specifically are clearly like, fuck man, I don't know, turn the elevation on and like scroll over the map and just make a bunch of mountains.
I feel like a lot of the side quests that I ended up running into were just like one set of dialogue.
Yeah, there'll be a lot of dialogue talk. So yeah, you did some of the other one. There's some, if you go deeper into the side questing, there's some, I mean, you're going to an Uncharted world and then like clearing out a base, but like it might end with
all the bases that look the same.
Yeah, all the bases that look the same. It might end with a moral dilemma of do I kill this guy? Do I talk to him and get him to stand down?
Do I steal these things?
Yeah, exactly. So like there's quite a bit of that, and there's some really, really good ones in this first game.
Yeah.
But they are surrounded by this underwhelming level design and structure that a lot of the side content implements. But moving away from that into the more story missions where you go to certain planets and those are fully crafted out worlds with their own cultures and vibes and feelings. How did we feel sort of just like of the universe of Mass Effect?
It was very, very cool. Very, very well thought out. Very well crafted, I think, as far as like different types of aliens and how they're designed.
Yeah.
How a lot of them act, a lot of the way they talk.
The history behind them. Yeah. These races have gone to war before.
I've said it multiple times, but my favorite aliens are the Elcor.
Elcor? Yeah.
So cool.
For people who are just finding this review or whatever. Elcor, they carry no tone in their voice. They're very monotone.
So they say like enthusiastic response. That is amazing, Shepard.
Exactly like that. So that you found just hysterical. We didn't come across too many Elcor in our playthrough just because we stayed pretty golden path.
Yeah.
I don't remember too many in 2, but I know there's some great Elcor moments in 3. Anyways. But yeah. So, and then... oh, you know what we didn't talk about? We didn't talk about our big baddie when we were talking about characters. We didn't talk about our boy Saren.
What a dick.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Big douche.
Kind of a dickhead.
Yeah. Wrong side, bro. Wrong side.
Don't you know who I am? I'm the protagonist.
I'm the protagonist, motherfucker. Yeah, so I actually think Saren is a really cool character. He's a dick and he's a jerk and he's not in the game a whole lot. But I really like him. I think
what it kind of felt like I'm trying to think. There was definitely something I know of that was very similar, but it was always us trying to catch up with Saren. You know, like us trying to follow him, figure out what he was doing on this place, and we always we just missed him.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of what else I know that's like that, but it was like, oh, I'm Saren. I'm going to fuck up this one place, and then I follow behind. It's like, oh, I gotta clean up this mess now.
Yeah.
And then it felt like I was just chasing him like that.
Sure.
Which I don't dislike. It was just like a funny little.
Well, I think that speaks to because this game there's a lot of non-linearity in this game when they finally get you going and you have your ship and you're going out and exploring worlds and stuff.
Yeah.
They go, here are your main 3-4 objectives. Just kind of get to them in whatever order you kind of want. Even though I think there's clearly a preferred order.
I wasn't a big fan of the kind of slow start.
It is a bit of a slow start, and they throw a lot of exposition at you really quickly. A lot of just world building in that beginning section and so forth. So,
I think that's probably what I'm least excited about going back on a replay.
I have that issues with every RPG where I have to get through the first few beginning hours.
It's that way with Pokemon for me too, because I always have to do the starting town shit.
Yeah.
Fucking doing all the shit before you even get a Pokemon.
Yeah.
It's the slog.
I just have that issue with RPGs where it's I'm at my weakest, so the mechanics aren't interesting. It's a lot of just banging my head against a brick wall. And then all of the deep and compelling story stuff happens later. And it's just kind of fuck, man. This is boring. I don't need to hear about this fucking drunk CSEC officer who's being cast out or whatever.
I did see at the end of our stream, there's a continue option. Would that just bring me to my last save?
Yes.
So I could just go do a bunch of side shit and then finish?
Well, your last save is post Ilos.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Oh, no, but I have other parts of the file.
You'd have to go really far back.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
Yeah. You'd have to go pre-Vermeer.
Oh, okay.
To do a bunch of the side questing shit.
But that's what the continue option is. It just brings you.
Yeah, it just brings you to a save. Yeah.
Okay.
Which I really like that menu layout for the Legendary Edition, where it gives you name and rank and class on the main menu for your different playthroughs, and then I assume if you've got multiple playthroughs going at the same time with different games, it'll continue that option, which is kind of neat. So yeah, let's any worlds particularly caught your interest or that you liked or that you can think of?
I really like the design of what is the world where you have to choose between Ashley and Caden.
Vermeer.
I really like that world.
Lots of beaches and beautiful scenery.
I like the design of it.
Storms over in the distance in the horizon. Yeah. That's a good one. That's one of my favorites. And then of course all the big story moments happen there too. So
that's where kind of all the big choices start.
I'm always a big fan of Novaria, the snow planet.
Which one is it? Oh, that's the one where...
It's the one where you get Benezia.
Yeah.
Because I think some of the more interesting side questing stuff happens there. I like all the corporate espionage shit for some reason. And then I think the whole situation with the Rachni is super interesting and fascinating. And how that feeds into the Reaper plot and shit. Oh, it's good.
The Rachni, huh? Ooh.
Not a fan of the Rachni?
No, it's just, we know what happened there.
Oh, So let's go ahead. Let's dive into some choices. Phil, Mass Effect is all about the choices.
Yep.
Let's talk about some choices.
What would you say is the first big choice?
It's the Rachni.
Is it?
Yeah. Because they stay pretty light in the beginning. It's mostly just dialogue shit. They don't have you do anything major. There's not any big choices on Pharos or Therum. Therum, you'd literally just go pick up Liara and get going. Pharos, there's some smaller things like killing the colony or sparing them.
Oh right. Well, I've spared the colony there.
Yeah, we both.
I cured them all, and then I killed a Thorian.
I did the same in my playthrough. You can kill the Asari that the Thorian is making clones of, or let her go. We both let her go.
Yeah, I let her go.
Yeah. Those are smaller things. Those have less ripples in the future games. But the first choice that is made in those first 3 missions that like kind of matters, spoiler, I guess, I don't know, well, not really though, is
I mean, this is a spoiler cast.
this is a spoiler cast. Well, I meant like for 2 and 3,
Oh,
which
for
you have no
2 and
experience
3,
with it.
gotcha,
But the Rachni. So, ancient species that was wiped out by the Krogan, which, you know,
They were brought up in order to eliminate the Rachni.
Yeah. So the Krogan were brought up early into galactic civilization before they should have, used to wipe out the Rachni. And then, you know, when the Krogan rebellion started happening, they then, you know, neutered
The
and
Solarians started the genophage.
the genophage, which is really just like a preconceptive genocide.
Yeah.
Where like 1 in 1,000 babies are born. So there's a lot of historic context in your choice with the Rachni of, do you spare this final queen or do you let her go and restart Rachni life, or do you finish her off?
Yup.
You finished her off.
I sure did.
I did not. I let her go.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, my thoughts were with like the future, and it was like, okay, sure, this queen is saying she's gonna fuck off and leave people alone, right? However, I don't know how long she's gonna be around.
Yeah.
I don't know what her future generation's gonna be like.
Y'all bitches real dangerous.
Yes, very dangerous. And also, my boy Rex, he was brought up in order to do this, and I felt like it was kind of insulting his race for not. I mean, that's kind of like their whole thing. That's what they did.
Yeah.
And it would just kind of be going back on what he already accomplished.
Sure. Yeah. All fair choices. All fair choices. We're gonna have to see how.
I fucking burned that bitch.
We're gonna have to see how, you know, these choices ripple effect into the.
burned
into the,
that
you burned that bitch. Dumped a vat of acid on her. Anyways, and
What's
then
the next big choice
I mean,
then?
moving on, you just jump straight into Vermeer, where the majority of big major choices happen. I mean, there's some smaller ones you can do throughout the game. For example, the DLC mission where you stop the asteroid from colliding with a colony. You can choose to let Balak the terrorist go and save some civilians, or let those civilians get blown up and put her down. I let him go just because he has a cameo appearance in the third game, and I think it's cute that they included it. You fucking let them bitches die and killed that bitch.
Trolley problem, Tavin.
Yeah.
He's just gonna go back and do the same thing with some more people.
Sure.
I let, what was it, 3 people die?
Yeah.
3 people to save who knows how many others.
Yeah.
Easy math.
Easy math. Yep. So Balak's in the ground. We didn't do too many other like major side questing things. We did Garrus's mission and Rex's mission. Those don't have any choices behind them, other than, do you want to do them or not? Well, I guess arresting Dr. Salion or killing him, that doesn't make a difference.
I wanted Garrus to get his. I mean, the whole reason Garrus joined me was to not be tied up in red tape.
Yeah. So let's go correct some mistakes of the past. Moving on straight into Vermeer, man. First major choice, big Rex boy. Now this, when we started our playthrough, you were hitting the neutral option quite a bit.
Yeah.
And I started to get a little nervous because I was like, I know Phil, he's not going to do a lot of side questing. He's going to stay pretty direct, golden pathing it. I'm like, man, is he? And he's like mixing and matching his answers a lot. And I'm like, man, is he even going to have enough points to talk Rex down? Is he going to lose Rex? I don't know, man.
I would have been devastated.
Dude, it's tough, man.
I would have been fucking devastated. I told you, I think it was on stream, I would have wanted to stop as soon as that happened. I would have wanted to stop for the night and not do any more and come back next week. I would not have wanted to continue.
You would have killed Ashley so fast. Because if you don't talk Rex down and
you shot by Ashley.
But you keep trying to talk out of it, he does get shot by Ashley.
I would have saved Caden.
Dude, you hear his death gurgle and everything. It's tough. Yo,
Makes
and
me so
they
sad.
shoot him multiple times. Like they shoot him once, he falls out of the camera, and then they just show Shepard or Ashley shooting him a bunch more times, and then he's like, anyways, it's tough.
My boy.
So you managed to talk Rex down. I also talked Rex down, but by that point I had done his side mission, so I didn't even need the Paragon choice, the Charmer, Intimidate choices. Next, it's like, choosing who goes with Captain Kirrahe. That one doesn't really matter. And then the small little choices you make in the Battle of Vermeer to help out Kirrahe on whether or not, him and his squad survive or not. And then also, of course, if you also have to go to whoever is with Kirrahe.
Mm-hmm.
You have to go rescue that squad mate in order to keep Kirrahe alive. Otherwise, Kirrahe dies.
Oh damn.
Yeah. So there's a lot of barriers in your way. You have to hit
little things.
Yeah, you got to hit a lot of checkpoints. We both made the choice of when to alert guards on the other side of the base and draw more attention over to Kirrahe and his men. We both made the choice to do that instead of taking on the bigger challenge.
I did by mistake.
You didn't understand the context because you were talking over dialogue.
I was being funny, dude. Come on.
Be funny during combat.
That's harder. I have to focus during combat.
Yeah. So yeah, for both me and you, Kirrahe didn't make it out. Both me and you, we chose Ashley over Caden. The only reason I chose Ashley is because I was streaming.
And Lucky Rabbit.
And my boy Lucky Rabbit 7 in the chat was like, you know what? Yeah, you should do this. And I was like, all right, Lucky Rabbit, this one I'll do for you. So he made that choice for me. So yeah, Ashley lived. Caden died for both our playthroughs. And then obviously we romanced Liara. And then Is
Liara the only gay option?
Quote unquote gay option, yeah.
Yeah, because you can play if you play as a woman.
Yeah. They don't bring real homosexual options until 3.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate. Fuck you, Fox News. There's a character in 2 who was supposed to be pansexual. But she's not. Fuck you, Fox News.
You only get 3 in 1, right? It's Caden, Ashley,
Liara. Damn near all of them in 2. Yeah.
You can romance Rex?
So moving on.
I feel like he would be like the joke one. You played Saints Row 4, right?
Yeah.
There
are some joke romances.
Because I know in Saints Row 4 you could romance everybody except Keith David. Keith David just wouldn't do it. I feel like that's what Rex would be.
Maybe. Who knows? You'll have to play and find out, buddy.
Like every time you try to romance Keith David, he would punch you in the face or something like that.
I'll just say, no, I'm not gonna say it. Never mind. So yeah, and then from there, it's pretty much a straight shot to the end of the game. We go. The council dicks you over once again.
Fucking assholes.
Anderson help. Yeah, fucking no kidding, right? Anderson helps you escape. You take the Normandy. You shoot off to Ilos. You find the conduit. You discover more details about the Reaper plot.
With Vigil.
And you also have, I guess, back to Vermeer, you have that conversation with Sovereign where he's like, yo, I'm just here to fuck all you motherfuckers up. I don't care what or who you are.
We learned that Saren's ship is a Reaper.
Is indeed a Reaper. Which just through osmosis in your time on the internet, you were able to be like, you just looked at Sovereign and went, that's a Reaper.
Yeah. I knew what they looked like.
Or you at least went, that's a Reaper ship.
Yeah, I said that's a Reaper ship. So
yeah.
I didn't know that's what the Reapers actually
That's a Reaper.
I thought it was a ship.
And then, Vigil over on Ilos drops a whole bunch of info, says, hey, man, this is what the Protheans did in their last moment to buy y'all a little bit more time before the Reapers showed up. And, hopefully y'all get it done and stop Sovereign before he brings every Reaper to your galactic government hub.
The Citadel.
So then
favorite spot on the Citadel.
So then we take the conduit, we shoot off to the Citadel in the Mako, and fight Saren, defeat him, and then we have this choice, man. Sovereign is there. He's at the Citadel. We got to stop him. The human fleet is coming in, but the Geth are all over the Citadel, and they're attacking the ship that the Council is on. So what do? Do you sacrifice some human ships in order to save the Council, or do you keep all your ships back and focus directly on Sovereign and, hopefully reduce the amount of human casualties taken? And I believe we made the same choice here in
saving the Council.
Saving the Council.
So I kind of looked at it. I was like, man, fuck these guys. They always second guess me, especially the Turian one. Like the Asari was kind of more on my side, and the Solarian was kind of just like more like, I felt like he was like supposed to be like the smart one. Like he was like the one who's like, oh, it's more like it's all about numbers and all that and stuff like that. That's kind of the vibe I got from him. But the Turian was just a fucking dick. Every single choice I made, he'd always be like, oh yeah, I'm sure that's the right choice. Oh, you didn't just do that for humans. Oh, wow.
You never hung up on the Council, did you? I don't think you ever did. No,
I never did.
That's always a funny gag. Calling them up just to hang up.
They're just such assholes. But I was like, okay, if I let the Council die here, whoever inevitably replaces them is going to be like, oh, so you let the previous Council die. What are you going to do here? And then also I was going to be like, I kind of want them, I want to have the satisfaction of them having egg on their faces and doubting me. So I'm like, yeah, I'll save you. And I did.
And we will have to see how those choices...
I mean, I know
ripple
obviously
out.
there wouldn't be as much of a story if they were like, yeah, we trust you forever, Shepard. Yeah, you're the best now. I feel like there's got to be more like later on where they're like, yeah, we think you're wrong again, even though you weren't ever wrong in the last game.
Well, I'll say in 3, I'll say this much. In your war against the Reapers, there is, for your quote-unquote best ending, quote-unquote. There's like a meter you're filling up of galactic readiness of as you're collecting allies to go to Earth and make a final push against the Reapers. This isn't a spoiler. This is how the game starts.
I mean, I already knew that like there's got to be some kind of final confrontation with the Reapers.
Like we're doing something, you know,
because they even ended the first game. We were saying like Reapers are still out there.
The Reapers are coming, buddy.
I gotta get ready.
Winter is coming, and boy does it come, in a way more meaningful way than Game of Thrones.
We don't need to talk about what a disappointment this is.
Fucking sucks. Anyways, it's like so bad that nobody rewatches Game of Thrones. Like that's not something you do.
Nope.
Anyways, so. This galactic readiness bar fills up. And there were some things in 3 that, depending on choices you made in the other games, would help you out in filling out this bar. But a lot of it was dedicated towards the multiplayer and how much time in the multiplayer you put in.
This was released 2010, 2011?
2012.
Was it really?
Yeah.
2012?
Yes, sir.
3?
Yeah. First one 2007, second one 2010.
There's no way. I was...
And then third one's like March of 2012.
I was not... Okay, I guess I technically wouldn't have been in high school at the time, but... For whatever reason, I thought it was like a year before then.
No. It's like March 2012.
All right.
Something like that. What was I saying? Oh, so in this Legendary Edition, obviously we don't have the multiplayer. So that mechanic of the game kind of breaks because you don't have the multiplayer. So they have tweaked it to extend throughout the entire trilogy in more meaningful ways. So I haven't seen how it works personally yet, but from what I've heard, it's a lot harder to get your galactic readiness up by just playing Mass Effect 3. Because like in the original game, you could just play Mass Effect 3 story mode, and if you just did everything, you could get your bar up. But now you need the context of the other 2 games. So I'm excited to see in what ways personally this changes things. I mean, I know the ending, and I know how all the math plays out and works. So I know I know to the level and degree it's going to change things. But I'm curious to see how some of these choices you make work later on down the line, and how it works to filling out that bar.
I think it'll be good. I get a good feeling.
You think you've set yourself a decent foundation for the future?
I think I have.
We're gonna find out.
Yeah, we will.
We're gonna find out.
We certainly will.
We certainly will. Now, Phil.
Yeah.
You like yourself some good review scores.
I do,
actually. You brought that element into the show. So, how would you score that there Mass Effect 1?
I am going to give it... It's definitely an 8. I'm trying to think if it's a high or a low 8.
Ooh, very exciting. On your first playthrough. That's so exciting.
You know, I'm just going to say mid-8.
Mid-8?
8.5.
Very generous to this there Mass Effect 1. You enjoyed it quite a bit. What did you score Snake Eater?
I'm pretty sure I gave it like a high, like a 8.8, 8.9, maybe even a 9.
We should go back, find out, and then...
I don't remember.
Yeah.
If I didn't say high 8 to a 9, then...
That's what it should have been. Yeah, I'm with you. 8-ish. Original game, 7-ish. This game...
I feel like if I had to play the original, I probably would be much harsher.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Really fucking Hanna-Barbera dog sound you just made there, dude.
Anyways, so yeah, that is our After the Hype review for Mass Effect 1. Very exciting. You excited to get into these sequels, buddy?
Yeah, actually.
Yeah. So, if you are listening this on release, we will be live in just a few hours.
Can I make a retraction? Because there was a bit earlier. I think it was during the stream where I talked about how I didn't want to go into the second one.
Oh shit!
At least not yet. I think I might want to go from 1 to 2.
You want some back-to-back, don't you?
I think so.
You want some back-to-back. Well, Phil.
Just because I know it's like a total direct continuation.
Yes.
And I don't know. Something about
I think this
that
trilogy is
makes me
best
wanna-
played back-to-back.
Okay.
Best. But it's not like we would take a huge break if we swap. I mean, we still got to do your game because we passed the controller over there at HYEP. Have you ever played? Twitch.tv/2pennygames. Every Tuesday at 1 p.m. Day-long stream. Come by, say hi.
If you're
Next
listening
week,
to this on Tuesday, we're probably already live.
Yeah, we're probably already live.
Tavin's going to be playing some Spyro the Dragon.
Spyro the Dragon, first game, Reignited trilogy version.
Yep.
Very excited to find out what this legendary franchise is all about. And then I guess probably wouldn't. There's no way Spyro 1's taking a whole session, right? Or
it has the potential to take like maybe 5-6 hours.
okay. Well, we'll see how we feel it. So yeah, come by, say hi, and then we were gonna go to some Uncharted 2, but very clearly you are itching to get to that Mass Effect.
I want to play more Mass Effect.
Yeah, buddy, you do. Anyways, thank you so much for listening. If you're listening to the full Gamescast, thank you for sticking around to very much clearly our longest episode ever.
Oh, without a doubt.
If you're listening to just the After the Hype review /spoiler cast, thank you so much. Please drop a subscribe, like, follow, go listen to the full podcast if you like. We just did our top 10 games of all time, more of an evergreen episode as opposed to the weekly news show.
Tavin, Connor, and I.
All three of us on that one, whereas usually it's just me and Connor. So please go check that out. But until then, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for gaming with us. Thank you so much for watching. And until next time, Phil, say goodbye to the people.
Bye.